Welcome. Welcome to Let Me Out Productions and the Top Brass Dow. Hey, Hassan Piker, I hope you watch this. I hope you watch this on stream and you correct the narrative as you're supposed to do. That would be interesting. Yeah. Let me get chat looking the way it's supposed to look. We're on this one. We're on this one. Kimani applies to Streaming University Part 6. I can all but guarantee you that the casting is already done for Streamer University. And beyond that, I was a very low shot at being considered in the first place. I'm not a streamer. I'm just instrumental to streaming as a genre. Depends, and that even depends on how you look at it. I don't feel that myself, to be honest with you. That is not how I personally feel. I feel like my contribution to the early genre is more of like, hey, I called it, you know? But I was never going to be that guy, nor would I want to be. Today we're going to talk about Pan-African United Community Advocacy, co-publishing through the economy through solidarity commerce. This is the first expression of the Elmo structure for tokenomics that's been developed from a piece of Let Me Out Productions, number 71 specifically, in fact. You can go look at it because it's hard to see. Number 71. So they developed this piece of our brand, 0.0002% of our brand ownership, into their own brand structured on a similar publishing method. And you can do the same thing for $130 right now. This brand has $120,000 in publishing property potential, and then in merchandise potential in the catalog, they're at $4.2 million so far. So this particular co-publisher paid $200 for this piece, and they've been sustaining my sort of work in a client relationship over the past couple of years, probably to the tune of about $5,000 or $6,000 total expense. So all in all, very marginal, lean startup, even with it being a new publishing method, and not a high-risk thing to develop to get to these potential yields. Okay, so there you go. It's this. When you see the solid colors of the Let Me Out Productions brand, know that this is the way that I'm doing holographics, because I think it's funny. The rest of the pieces are highly involved, intricate, pixel painted, or textured photograph pieces that I made or somebody else made. You buy one, you get to make one. So this is one I made. It's $250. The specific plot does the same thing. You express your own intellectual properties on the same publishing method, guided by our structure. But we don't ask for tax or rent on your performance. It's just flat. It's a piece of property, community garden plot. You're developing outcomes. If this is your outcome, $4.2 million in catalog merchandise, go for it. Good for you. Let's take a look at the t-shirt, the t-shirt prime. And then I needed to, did I put the chat in yet? Let's make sure the audio is working. Let me get chat looking. The audio is working, everybody. I'm not a complete failure at streaming as one of the streaming daddies. I'm so bad at like claiming agency and claiming clout. OBS, the OG, and we need my chat browser. I don't know how to do the text overlay like, all the streamers do where it's over the screen, so this is how we do it. Good, this just says blockchain addresses. So, that's the sticker. I wanted the shirt. $28 for the shirt plus shipping, so probably $33 no matter where you are in the US. And we're going to go back. I did a Google LLM podcast thing we're going to listen to help explain what we're doing, because when I do it, I have too much emotion involved. Like I've been doing this for 5 years. I realize I study sanctimony as a brain state, so I have perception bias as far as people's behavior when it comes to reactions and stuff. That said, objectively speaking, the pole position, the precedent in collective publishing was sacrificed for social hierarchy garbage, and we're just not behaving the right way with a publishing tool. That's basically the long and the short of it. When we trust liars and clowns to paint behavior instead of actual people who've been doing it forever, we end up here where we're at today. So, without further ado, let's get into this biddy. Yeah, I'll just do that.
Imagine a massive foundation, right? And they just drop $1 million into a struggling neighbor.
Oh, yeah, the classic move.
Right. There's a huge press conference, giant cardboard check.
Ribbons are cut, lots of photos.
Exactly. But then, a year later, you drive through that exact same neighborhood. And that community center they built, it has peeling paint.
The literacy program ran out of funding 6 months ago.
Yeah, and economically, the residents are literally exactly where they were 12 months prior.
It's the classic trap of the traditional charity model,
Totally.
It's a system built on this very rigid, temporary flow of capital. You have these wealthy donors on one side and then the grateful recipients on the other.
And the capital flows in, and it basically just treats a symptom.
Right. Like maybe it buys some books or fills the food pantry, which is great, but then the capital is just gone. The actual root causes of the poverty, completely untouched.
And it happens every single day. We accept this dynamic because, frankly, it's just how things have always been done.
Yeah, you're either a producer of value or you're a consumer of it.
Right. You're the philanthropist or you are the charity case.
But what if you could fundamentally break that binary?
What if the people in that neighborhood weren't just recipients of aid, but actual authenticated co-owners of the economic engine that was designed to help them?
That is the exact question we're exploring today.
It really is. So if you are listening to this right now, I want you to imagine we are putting on our brand architect and strategic systems analyst hats. That is our mission for this deep dive.
Got the hats firmly on.
We are going to conduct a comprehensive step-by-step walkthrough of a brand and a platform that is actively attempting to shatter those old broken economic categories.
It's an incredibly innovative property. It's called POCA.
Yes, spelled P-A-U-C-A and pronounced POCA.
And we have a really fascinating stack of source material to guide us today.
We really do. We're not just dealing with high-level theory here, are we?
No, not at all. Our sources include the actual limited deed of assignment for the Paiui brand. We've got architectural white papers detailing their...
Okay, so I love LLM. It's very useful. The podcasters sometimes pronounce things absolutely nuts. So she just said the Paui, but wait, I don't even know what she said. Anyway, PACA. Let's just take a moment to work that out. PACA. Let's go to the website. I have it all laid out there. PACA.org is the website. Super simple. PACA, Pan-African United Community Advocacy equals PACA, aka I got your back. We open with the catalog because this is what it's all about, advocating for the community and keeping wealth in the community with our spending choices. And then you see some of the publishing titles that are available in the PACA brand. I did the same thing here with the solid colors, but these actually look interesting because there's far more tones. In the LMO versions, there's 2 tones. Here, there's 5 or 6. These are priced as, originally we intended for these to be $30. And when we put them on the Polygon blockchain, we priced them at a list of Polygon that we anticipated would scale to about $30. But that's not the case. So these are about, how much are these right now? And shout out to the viewer that I have. I love having a live viewer. Thank you, thank you. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. If you're getting them on Rarible, they're $4 or $5 right now. This is one of my pieces. It's nice. It's a good looking piece. This logo has a lot of architecture to it. The seven that's designed, this is Mother Africa here, and if you kind of tilt your head to the side, you can see the shape of the African continent that forms the head. That's my design. The rest of this logo, except for the lettering, is by an artist named Stephanie. Well, not this. Let's go to the default one. Not this one. That's my painting inside of it. So let's go to the default logo. There it is. This is the one. So Stephanie did the rising tides portion, the horizon portion, the umbrella of faith, and the white background here. And then we have the 3 states of the sun and moon, I would say, in this circle here. And then the silhouetted Mother Africa portion is my work added to this logo. And then I did the lettering down here too, which it's just like one of them Gothic fonts. I forget which one. But so this is the root-based logo for PACA, Pan-African United Community Advocacy. And I have to go look at the server real quick, but yeah. There is a 7, where is that? Okay, well, in fact, here's, that's so funny. Here's the original logo that Stephanie made. So you can see I replaced Baldy here with Mother Africa, and the lettering was not satisfactory for my taste. So I don't know if it might be the exact same font. It looks to me to be very similar, like within pixels. But this is slightly bolder, and the letters are more compact to form an interesting shape at the bottom. The P is leading, and the negative space between the P and the A is in my mind implied to be a little hyphen. So it's not to me that's not glaring or anything, but you know, it depends on your sensitivities and sensibilities. So here, this is the breakdown of the logo. 1 through 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the Kwanzaa principles. 8, 9, 10, and 11, which is the border here, those represent justices. So the 3 faces of sun and moon, and then the border of the entire piece that represent sunrise. If you're looking towards the south, it would be sunrise on the in item 8 here. That's food justice. Midday, which is 9, that's your social justice, or midnight if you prefer. And then 10 here is environmental justice. That's your setting sun. And then 11 is economic justice, which encompasses the entire unit. That's right. I sort of, I'll do it this, yeah. So 12 down here is land. These are the accesses. This is all planned out and mapped by the founder of the brand, Zion Tadesse, who is an angel among all you people, and she deserves your support, which is why I'm doing this stream under the guise of applying to Streamer University, which, you know, We shall see. I am on a film in a couple of weeks here in Los Angeles, and I don't know when Streamer University actually is taking place. I'm optimistic. I think I'm OG up in here, but we also live in a world and a time where social hierarchy seems to be the priority communication. It's none of what we're talking about in this logo. This is Xeon's priority and my priority, but yeah, it ain't Hassan Piker's priority, that's for sure. I hope you watch this, Hassan. Watch it on stream. I'll be nice to you. It'll be little jabs like that, but I ain't gonna cuss you out or crash out on you. Oh, my shoulder hurts too bad today anyway. Okay, so we're talking about the lettering, which is the accesses. So 12 is land access. P, land access. A is housing access, so 13 is housing access. 14 is education access, that's your U. The C is healthcare access, that's your 15 there. And the other A is opportunity access, which Z put in quotes here as funding, specifically funding, financial opportunity. So that's what the lettering is made out of. You have the head here. Let's look at the actual logo of Mother Africa. The head here is family, and then the border is I already said the border. The border is economic justice, but the background, see the white space in the background that form, or if you're looking at the default logo, the original one here, number 17 here, the background, that's just elemental. So you pick like an elemental: light, shadow, ice, fire, flora, earth, stone, sand, ocean, spirit. You know, think of temples in Zelda. and you know, you don't, that's now this is a guide. You don't have to stick to the guide. It's meant to inspire choices in every single aspect of repainting this. And so that way everybody who contributes a piece of the publication are making choice effort deposits 18 different ways into every single piece here. So when you see a PACA piece in the community, that means that somebody actually took the time. This one's by me, but somebody actually took the time and went through and made choices for every single one of these elements of this piece. And you're buying it, you're collecting that. You own this piece, which also is deeded through assignment with ownership over the brand itself, the PACA brand. And then right here in the description, it tells you what you're going to do. So we're going to listen to the podcast a little bit. I wanted to explain the logo and share a little bit of the lore. And wow, view count went up, 6 views. Thank you. I love y'all. Let's raid the stream. Let's get the stream going. You know, Hassan blocked me on X, so I can't tweet him on X, and I don't do Blue Sky because it feels like a graveyard over there. Okay, let's let the robots talk.
Specific tokenomics and what they call impact puzzles. We've got architectural white papers detailing their specific tokenomics and what they call impact puzzles.
Which comes from a group called Let Me Out Productions, right?
Exactly. Let Me Out, or LMO. And on top of that, we have live market data from OpenSea and these really insightful community newsletters straight from the Pegasus Substack.
It is basically a complete ecosystem in these documents. Yeah. We've got the legal framing, the philosophical math, the market reality, and like the actual community dialogue.
And our ultimate role today is to synthesize all of this so you can see how a community can literally co-publish a brand.
Right. We're looking at a system designed to turn everyday physical and cognitive labor into fractionalized property ownership.
It's what they call a co-published economy, or just co-pub for short.
Co-pub, I like that. Co-pub. So to truly understand how a brand operates at this level of structural innovation, we have to start at the foundation, right?
Absolutely. We need to trace its architectural roots. And crucially, look at the visionary who decided to build this house in the first place.
Let's get into the inception of it all. Because the source documents, they emphasize that POK is a sovereign, independent property.
Right. It is its own distinct entity.
But it didn't just, materialize out of thin air. It emerged from that broader ecosystem we mentioned.
Let Me Out Productions, LMO.
Yeah. Think of LMO as a service studio, right? A professional resource collective.
They've been pioneering this whole concept of scalable impact puzzles. They're essentially building the structural chassis and the engine for a totally new type of vehicle.
I really like that analogy. So LMO builds the engine.
Right.
And specifically, the documents state that POCU was developed using the structural guidance and the professional tooling of LMO brand piece number 71.
Which in their internal ecosystem is known as the Red Sea piece.
Red Sea. Got it. And I want to make sure this is crystal clear for you listening.
Yeah.
LMO provided the blueprint, the foundational math, the legal framing.
But Payuka is the proof of concept.
Exactly. Payuka took that.
Well, hold on. Hold on there, robots. There are many proof of concepts, because I'm not an idiot. So, our brand at Let Me Out Productions is proof of concept. We have musical bears, which I'm wearing right here. This is proof of concept. We have Press Pass Season 1 is proof of concept. We have the Surely Though puzzle right here as proof of concept. And then Paka is the first published result from our brand that has been expressed structurally into the market. And we have potentially 80,000 titles in our brand that can express their own publications like this into the market. Now, I want to be clear, the behavior itself is open source. That's why all the corporations are able to use it as a data scraping method without paying me, which is just unethical. It's just unethical, dang it. You're putting the burden of my survival on my immediate community without valuing my contribution to the economy, which is ridiculous. Anyway, don't crash out. Don't crash out. We're in the healing process. Me and the rest of y'all. So now I want to also be clear. This form of publishing, puzzle structured publishing, while I might have a market placement pioneer position on the notary before these guys. These are April 22nd. We're March 31st. And this is the behavioral precedent in the collective publication of a brand using NFTs as modular units of publishing, of titled publishing. So we just call them publishing titles. The NFT forms a publishing title the same way HTML forms a website. It's a network technical standard that forms something else. So you're looking at the result of an NFT here, a publishing title, number 5 in the 80,000 publishing titles facing the public in Let Me Out Productions. And this was transferred to a financial prospect in Singapore, March 31st, 2021, notarizing this publishing behavior into existence. I'm also the only person doing this sort of publishing, so we stand out. We don't publish to gamble, so you don't buy a publishing title for $200 and then try to sell it for $400 or $1,000 or $5,000. That's not what you do. You publish the title. That's why the language is actually really important. I didn't land on publishing title till a couple of years ago. So as you're experiencing clarity, don't blame yourself even as much as I do blame other folks. Shout out to Ian McConnell. That song Bangladesh, that earworm that he released, was actually really deep because it explores somebody's main character energy and how they blame others for what they perceive they lack. And it made me confront that in myself because I couldn't get it out of my head. So it was rotating and it's cycling in my head, and I'm just thinking about it as a cognitive linguist all day. And I land on that, and then other people land on, I'm reading comments, and other people are landing on similar vibes. I'm like, oh, cool. I like that this is in my head all day. Okay. All right. So, anyway, is the Red Sea piece bleached? There's a guy named Devin Finzer who runs this whole OpenSea platform. And the original property formation contract that I used This is totally bleached for sure. Yeah. This specific purchase was a like just a Cash App purchase. So she transferred me $200. I didn't the fees were high that day. I probably could have done the Ethereum thing. But look, see, it's bleached, man. They bleached the image and they bleached the label. But if you go on other platforms, the actual metadata on the back end is still preserved. I have no idea why this doesn't display on this, but it displays here and here. Okay, anyway, let's let the robots talk. It's not so. I paused on them saying that Paka is the proof of concept of the Elmo structure. Let's put that in the chat so Hassan Piker can actually read a source for once in his life. I'm going to keep roasting you, big boy. Y'all want to play in my face, so I'm going to cause drama for you. That's what happens. Don't play in my face. I want to know who's playing in my face. It's these YouTubers, man. And I'm saying, don't play in my face. Please don't play in my face. Why would it say edit? I don't want you to edit. I've been pasting in the edit link this whole time. What? Okay, so let's just do it this way. Read the first tab, and I'm trying to link to the first tab. So publish to web. All right, whatever. Make sure you're reading the first tab. Here it is, chat. Okay, back to the
engine, drop it into a custom chassis, and drove it right out into the real world.
LMO actually needs a project like Piyuka to be successful.
Why is that?
Because it validates their entire structural paradigm. Without a successful proof of concept, it's just theory. But Piyuka itself is driven entirely by its founder and its community.
And the visionary who took that LMO blueprint and applied it directly to community advocacy is Zayant Edis.
That's pronounced Sion Tadase.
Yes, Sion Tadase. Let's talk about her, because you really cannot separate this brand from her specific vision.
She is a powerhouse, an entrepreneur and a community leader based in Sacramento, California.
A lot of people in that area know her for her work with the Queen Sheba restaurant, right?
Yes. I'm going to go back so we can let Zion fully appreciate what she's known for, because I didn't tell them to say this. This is like what the AI picks up from what is put out about Zion, the press that she gets, and what people say on social media about her. And if you know her, you know she's a blessing to the community. There are so many people, myself included right now actually, that would not eat meals if it weren't for this woman. And she doesn't worry about takers and makers. She's just trying to teach, just like I am. I'm a structure guy, and she's a structure person as well. But she's a wide vision, scalable action person, action every day into the scale. So she's unstoppable. Has been for years, unstoppable. You can't stop this. Don't try to stop her. And I'm part of the team that's like, if you want the beef and you're gonna try to get into the shouting match, you're gonna get in the shouting match with me. And then she gets to go focus on what she's gonna do without the drama, because I'm gonna take on the drama, or somebody like Stevante will take on the drama. So we protect each other. But she is one of a kind, and just the person that I've always wanted to be. She's there because she's built the economic platform to be there, and so she can cycle that economic platform, and so this is I've known her for 2007. Let's see. I got into the mahogany thing with like one of the most problematic exes I've ever had. Shout out to the Musk family. Did not date anybody from the Musk family. This is a funny bridge to me. Super funny. Oh man, it just shows principles are so performative, and that's just my life keeps on showing me that principles are just performative narratives that people tell themselves, and then their actions and behaviors tend to be completely the opposite. So they perform one way as cover for the behaviors that they actually want to get away with. Let's get back to Xeon. Now you dipped into my behavioral science mind there for a second. We call her Z for short, and she, like I said, she's an angel in the community, one of a kind, a leader, a go-getter, an unstoppable person. And she knows this like the back of her hand. Her kids know it like the back of their hands. The community's starting to learn it as well. And the one holdup is, and again, this is the holdup.
Friend of the show, Paris Hilton. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
I jumped in.
I know, I heard. I'm so happy I taught you what they were.
You did. You taught me what's up, and then I bought an ape.
Is this a gem?
I got an ape too, because I saw you on the show with People, and you said you got a MoonPay, so I went and I copied you and did the same thing.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
This is disgusting. This is disgusting. These apes are straight up trying to fucking milk their audience, dude. That's it. There's nothing. This is an ad. This is a hashtag ad. And the hashtag ad is basically saying, hey, give me your money, dumbass. Give me your fucking money, you stupid fuck. That's what this hashtag ad is. I hate it. I hate it. I hate cryptocurrency so much. I hope all these rich people lose all their money. I'm sorry.
rich,
I hate
dude.
crypto.
Touch
I fucking hate
me.
the NFT
You don't know
shit.
what
I
that
hate the
shit
ape.
is. Oh my god. Okay, let's stop. So this is a platform adjacent colleague. I don't think I ever met this guy. Tells me different, and tells me there's at least 2 weeks that we shared in studio together. At least, and I just don't recall that. So anyway, if I ever did anything to offend you during that time, good. Oh man, I think you're a moron and a piece of shit. Oh, okay. I did say I wasn't going to do that. But hey, if you're watching live on stream, you can take that hit and keep on going. Let's learn, okay? We're talking about Impact Puzzles, a framework for on-chain co-publishing, and everybody doesn't want to go get a blockchain address because of its social taboo, and Hassan Piker specifically created that social taboo. His motive for it, I don't even know if he knows. I've identified quite a few, but it's a waste of my time. So, and it's a waste of Xeon's time as well. And you're hurting a lot of publishers with your take. So everybody go download this app on your phone or put it on your browser. Just do it. It takes 3 seconds. And if a streaming journalist could do it live and go through the experience live, that's what a streaming journalist could do. And then report and explore newsworthy information and a precedent publishing method live on stream for their viewers to teach them information. Instead, you guys create narratives and sell bullshit tantrum-ass narratives to create social hierarchy, which is your product. That is your product. Okay, so everybody go get a crypto wallet. It's just a digital safe for what you publish on the internet. That's the way to think about it. And if you want to publish gambling on the internet, you can do that, but you don't have to publish gambling. You don't have to publish gambling. It's not the precedent. There are a few people publishing gambling. That's what a few people are doing. They're publishing things to gamble on. You don't have to do that. You can build things as Lego kits. You can publish Lego kits together. That's the precedent. You don't have to gamble on the Lego resale value. But leave Hassan to tell it. He'll say, oh, The only thing you can do with Legos is gamble on them, and the whole thing's a Ponzi scheme. And blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to report the precedent so I can sell social hierarchy against a publishing tool. No, that's my product. Lie. Falsehood, fraud. Soak it up, children. Soak it up. That's what he sounds like, too. By the way, this is for my Hollywood folks. My X account, if you haven't perceived this by now, is completely performance art. It's completely performative. It's a dog water. It's a mirror of dog water. That's what it is. So don't hold me on behavioral trial for what I'm posting on X when the entire place is a shit show forest fire, okay? Like, you don't silo me off and be like, oh, you're special, and you have to hold yourself to a higher standard than Eric Andre. Which, who's my comedy king? You know what I mean? Like, Eric Andre, I got Key and Peele, Tim Heidecker, Robin Teed, Kim Wayans. I could go on and on and on. Maria Bamford. Howard Stern, a little bit of Howard Stern. I like Howard Stern a lot. I do. I like him a lot. I think he's a pioneer. Everything that we do, oh, I'm a streamer now. Yeah. Everything that we do as streamers, Howard was doing in the 90s. Okay? So like the chat interaction, the deliverables, all of that. Even putting clips online, he was first to that. Come on now. I think he was doing that before YouTube. Now, mind you, I'm not like such a deep Howard Stern fan. I was watching him at like 12 years old. That would have been bad for my brain, I think. But, and he'll tell you that too. No, you know what? Because they did have the late night TV show, and that was like, when I was at my granny's house and she had cable, I could watch Howard Stern at night. Ooh, and I could, So he often had guests on the show that were doing things. Okay. So I joke a lot because, frankly, this whole thing feels like an ordained thing for a lot of people. And I'm expected to perform to the notion that this is a reward of the Christian faith because I look the part. And I just want to be clear to everybody. I think I'm just a person. I'm just a normal dude. I'm lazy. I play too many of video games. I'm very quick to anger at people that don't get me. Like, if you're not going to receive me, because I studied communication, and if you don't receive somebody at their intended communication, you are putting yourself on a pedestal of arbitration. So you're arbiting their value through your perception, and you're not able to receive any communication because you're too busy setting goalposts up around qualifying whether or not it's even information or meaning, so y'all do that automatically when it comes to visual appearances, and you put up these goalposts where you are controlling whether or not something somebody is saying is meaningful or valuable. And you see, like, I don't want to make it a race thing, but white dudes, not all of you, but white men in America specifically, do this often. Not all of you, but often. That is just my experience. In minoritized groups, it happens less often, but you still see the hierarchy. It's all hierarchy. It's all, when you're doing that, when you're refusing to receive somebody at their meaning and you turn off the empathy and turn up the justification, it's to uplift your position in social hierarchy. So anyway, let me share my messaging with the world at the appropriate to form. This is poll and precedent in the collective publishing of an asset. One of the polls and one of many, but one of them. And it needs to be treated fairly and roasted fairly, because I labeled this wrong in the label. I put the decimal point 2 points off, 2 zeros off. That's funny. Luckily, that's not contractual. It's not relevant to any programmed relationship. It's just the label of this specific interface. It's just the label of the piece as it's recorded. but the deeded assignment is actually the appropriate ownership percentage. So, 23 of the pieces have this typo. Roast me on that. That's funny. I'm human. I make mistakes, and we own our mistakes. Anyway, formed with the OpenSea creator tool. That's what that means. And we proceed the gambling. And when I tell you guys this is a publishing tool, and we're publishing Lego kits, and then these guys came along and gambled on the Lego resale potential, that needs to make sense. Obviously, the behavior of putting a Lego kit together has to precede the gambling on the Legos. That's just what? So you can't, as a journalist, Hassan is not a journalist, come along and sell an emotional tantrum against the gambling and then never report on the actual root behavior. And the reason why he's doing that is social hierarchy against my person. And the reason why he goes on Smosh the other day is to rub that in my face. And Anthony might watch this. Love you, Ant. You're good. We're good. We're fine. I'm going to give you some guff because y'all, it seems like the only thing Smosh has for black people in show business is guff. And I know Anthony doesn't want that to be the fucking brand. So you have to examine and interrogate where that comes from instead of trying to shape reality to hide it. Stop that shit. It's all social hierarchy bullshit. You're not above anybody else. Stop it. That is LA Culture, and LA Culture sold collective publishing of intellectual property to gamblers. Not all of LA Culture, it's just a couple of dipshits. Luckily for everybody, they're not serious product. They could disappear overnight and nothing would change. Don't worry, Smoshlings. My team has your back. So, if this scales to global behavior, like I think it will, and the scandalous narrative scales with it, because I think it will, people will not be happy with the damages done against co-publishing. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. This is what I don't want to happen. This is exactly what I don't want to happen in my messaging all the time. I don't want this to happen. This isn't what I want going on in my brain. And I need folks that watch me and are trying to help me out through this to understand 5 years of having this shoved in my face because of what these people were doing, okay? Like, the precedent of, here's how to use this publishing tool. Well, you're not doing it right because these people gambled and made a lot of money. What? I had lifelong friends that decided to throw our friendship in the trash to try to enforce social hierarchy against a precedent publishing method. That's how addictive sanctimony is. The illusion that you're morally or socially superior to somebody else. You will throw a lifelong relationship in the garbage simply to not publish a brand because of what these people are publishing. What? That will never... It only makes sense if society is racist dog shit to the core. That's the only way it makes sense. That we're 100 years in the past. We're in the 1920s, and a black man with my credentials. I'm not just out here LARPing. Okay? I have degrees. 4 degrees. They're not fancy. I'm not out here pretending I've got PhDs and masters. I'm on my journey to a PhD, ideally, if you all support my thesis work, which this is one of the theses. Okay? That an impact puzzle renders... Well, they're going to talk about it. An impact puzzle creates assets out of labor theory of impact. Labor theory of impact is each unit. Well, it's you take the wide unit of intellectual property, the brand, the service, the product, the experience, the software, the hardware, the data pool, whatever have you. And now you're thinking Shark Tank. That's how these properties are traditionally negotiated. They form a state-wrapped entity, and then they negotiate through investment contracts with sharks. And the shark's job is to take the highest percentage and position themselves with the highest amount of yield. And as other shareholders get involved, that yield needs to go to the shareholders. And the merchant who is creating the property is at disadvantage. That is not a fair market for us to shop the intellectual property in. So if we form the intellectual property separate from any state-wrapped entity as its own property, this is how all intellectual property works by default, and you say in the creation and existence of this property, of this asset, it only exists as a puzzle or as a community garden with a hard cap of 500,000 pieces or 100,000 pieces as in pocket. And here's what some of the pieces do, here's what some of the other pieces do. All of them publish results and account for results published into this asset. Now, not only do you have a system of property distribution, but you also have an item-by-item treasury map to distribute the performance of the asset to everybody involved. So if they even publish one result to the performance, that justifies an equity reflection of performance in perpetuity. So here it's 0.0001%, I believe. But since this is a nonprofit brand, a nonprofit container, there may not ever be any equity-based performance. So just keep that in mind as you spend $4 on a piece of the Paca brand, okay? On OpenSea, there's 7. So, you know, if you want me to purchase on your behalf and you just want to download the MetaMask and send me the address of the Ethereum address of your MetaMask, Ethereum Polygon use the same address, and you want me to do it, send me $10, because I have to then go into Coinbase or PayPal, buy the currency, buy the title, send it to you. That takes time, so just mark it up a little bit for the time. That's all. That's it. $10 to Cash App, PayPal. You download the app. Make sure you back up the secret recovery phrase. It's like a safe combination for your digital safe. And then send me the address, and I will essentially email you the publishing title that you want out of any of the assets. Shout out to Hassan Piker, you lying bum. Look, man, if you were going to get in trouble for any of that, they would have rang you up a long time ago. I don't think it's in the capitalist's best interest to put you on a pike for trying to damage socialism. And that's objectively what you're doing with your take. However, I think I've thoroughly embarrassed you enough on X and in the back end of Showbiz Marketplace. I'm quite enjoying it. A lot of people are quite enjoying it. And you have to think about the reputation that you built for yourself and how you got there. And the flip side of that, this is the Ant and Ian, you cannot have that on stage next to your stuff. It's like having Hulk Hogan there at Smosh, and you could see it. I could see it on Chance knows he got good friends. You know what I mean? You could see it on his face how uncomfortable he was having to deal with that. Amanda too. I could see it. I could see it on their faces. I don't know them from Adam down the street. I know Shane. I know Noah. I know Courtney. I know Olivia. Keith, obviously. I don't want to forget any of the people, the people that the other actors that y'all brought in, like Brittany. I talked to her more often than any of y'all, because y'all are in that LA social hierarchy nonsense. We're important people. We're important people because we make toys. Okay. I'm right there with you. I'm making fun of myself. Don't take offense. I make toys too. My toys are structure the production of the toy. Okay? And this is how we're structuring the production of intellectual property. It's just the only way we can do it. They're using this exact publishing method of item by item, unit by unit contribution to publish assets, to publish the AI brains. It's exactly how they're doing it. But instead of mapping performance to the contributors, to the co-publishers of these assets, they're soaking up all of the performance to themselves. And now we are in a system of enslavement, number one, that's farther compounded than anything we've seen before. And then two, it's a self-eating snake as far as See, my disability's acting up right now. The self-eating snake as far as supply and demand goes. You have to value the ingredients before you cook them into paste, and then try to expect the farmers of the ingredients to buy the paste. If you don't buy the ingredients, the farmers have no money to buy your paste. And now that you're 3 to 4 years into printing paste, and you haven't paid for the ingredients, that market is starting to become extremely clear. What? What? Did they change up on me? This is live action, bro. I'm just like, if the story people are watching this, I did not know you guys did a rebrand. What the extra heck? Okay, and then this tab just... Ugh. It's one of those websites, those AI websites where the tab is a whole app. Okay. Did my stream freeze? Nobody wants my stream to freeze. No, we're back. We're good. I'm testing the chat link. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, and the Sheba Farms Foundation.
What is so remarkable to me about Zion Teddy's approach is her complete reliance on behavioral science.
But specifically, behavior rooted in her local community.
Right. She looked at the traditional nonprofit models, the giant cardboard checks we were just talking about, and she realized they often inherently enforce a social hierarchy.
It creates that savior and the saved dynamic.
Exactly. And it unintentionally strips personal agency from the very people it's trying to uplift.
Precisely. So her vision was to build a system based instead on authenticated ownership, creative labor, and the fierce protection of personal agency.
Don't scrape my credit. Man, I wrote all that stuff. Xeon's definitely patronizing it, though. Don't scrape my credit, bots. The whole social hierarchy thing, that's my first thesis. Anyway.
She didn't want to transact social hierarchy.
No, she wanted to transact actual equity.
Which is huge.
She utilized the LMO framework to create a platform where if you put in the work, you own a piece of the permanent structure.
I'm actually going to pause our analysis for just 1 second to say this directly to the audience. If any members of the press are listening to this deep dive right now...
Oh, absolutely. They need to hear this.
You need to be reaching out to Zion Teddy's for an interview.
100%.
The structural brilliance of what she has pioneered here is staggering. She has already done amazing things, and honestly, mathematically speaking, the system she has set in motion guarantees there are many more to come.
Her work deserves a massive spotlight.
It really does.
Because she recognized that the key to avoiding that nonprofit dependency loop was to fundamentally change how we define and reward impact.
And that brings us to the theoretical core of this whole project, which is drawn from those LMO white papers authored by the cognitive linguist Kimani Okearah.
Right, the labor theory of impact.
Okay, before we get into the math of this theory, we really need to translate it. Because the white paper definition is, it's dense.
It is very academic.
Yeah. In the documents, Kimani defines impact with a capital I as a material good. The formula is, okay, get ready. Impact equals the sum of time, liability, and expertise multiplied by rights, process, and results.
Yeah, if you just read that off a page, it sounds like an abstract economics piece.
Totally, just bounces right off the brain.
So let's make it concrete for everyone listening.
Please do. Let's trace a hypothetical hour of labor.
Okay, imagine you are a graphic designer.
Right, I'm a graphic designer.
The time in that equation is the 10 hours you spend working on a design.
Makes sense.
Your expertise is your degree in design or, your mastery of Illustrator.
Okay. And what about liability?
Your liability is the risk you're taking. So maybe you bought the software, you're paying for your own electricity, and you're actually taking time away from a paying freelance gig to do this work.
Oh, okay. So that is the first half of the equation. Time plus liability plus expertise. That is what you, the creator, are bringing to the table.
Exactly. Then you multiply that by the second half.
Structural side.
Right. You have the rights, meaning Pa Yuka actually gave you the authenticated permission to design an official shirt for them.
Okay.
You have the process, which is the specific way you submit the design for approval within their system.
And finally, the results.
The results. The actual shirt gets printed and sold. So, when you multiply your individual input by those structural outputs, you generate capital I impact.
Okay, I get it now. Because in a normal charity model, if you design that shirt, maybe they give you a shout out on Instagram, right?
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
And they keep all the profits from the shirt sales and you just go back to your day job. You basically donated your labor.
But under the labor theory of impact, that work is treated as a material good.
Yes. Co-publishing an intellectual property as an impact puzzle turns your physical or cognitive labor like designing that shirt into fractionalized property ownership.
You don't just get a thank you get equity.
The white papers use a fantastic analogy that we should really explore here to make it even clearer.
The garden one.
Yeah, think of this entire Piyaki brand as a massive community garden.
I love the garden analogy. It clarifies.
I don't know why they cannot say Paka. It's not Pukey. When Zion watches this, or if she watches this, I gave it a pronunciation guide. I you know what I mean? And I've been through this specific LLM I've been working with for 2 years, 3 years now. 2 years. We launched this in November of 2024. So, we launched the deed in November. She started working on the concept, proof to provenance in September of 2024. Okay. Just wanted to pause and say that behind my bare PFP over here.
This perfectly. Because when you buy into this brand, when you acquire what they call a publishing title, you're essentially buying a specific plot of dirt in this community garden.
Exactly. It is a bounded, harvestable property. The soil is fertile and it is permanent.
And I feel like this is the absolute crux of the entire LMO and Pyoka philosophy.
Yeah.
Buying the dirt does not mean you get to just sit in a lawn chair and wait for a harvest.
No one owes you tomatoes just because you bought the dirt.
Right. You can't just buy it and complain that nothing is growing.
Exactly. The purchase is simply the access to the soil. You still have to bring the seeds, you have to water the soil, you have to pull the weeds.
That is the labor.
Right. If you buy a publishing title and you do absolutely nothing, your plot just sits there fallow, nothing happens.
But if you work it.
If you work it, the yield is yours, authenticated and protected by the system.
Which naturally leads us to ask, what exactly are we growing in this garden?
A very important question.
Right. Now that we understand Zion Tadiz's vision of transacting equity instead of hierarchy, we have to look at the actual objective. What does PICA exist to achieve on the ground?
So PICA stands for Pan-African United Community Advocacy. And the source documents state very clearly that its core purpose is to create generational economic sustainability.
It's a 501c3 nonprofit platform, but it wraps itself in this.
Wait, before they dive into that. PACA itself is an independent brand that just exists to be published as a collective publication. So as far as today is concerned, there is no 501c called PACA. There is, and I want to give space for clarity for Zion to clarify. There is a 501c called Sheba Farms Foundation. Sheba Farms Foundation launched this brand. If you guys want to know how this works in traditional business, there's a company that we grew up with called Nabisco. They've since rebranded and called themselves Mondelez. In and of itself, that's a great example of entity separation from branding. So the entity that is state wrapped and does business it's a thing that at one point went under the brand of Nabisco and now goes under the brand of Mondelez International. So that needs to make sense for everybody. Two separate things. You can trade investment contracts in the entity, which is the thing, and you can trade publishing in the brand, which is Nabisco or Mondelez, or any of these sub brands that they run. I can't go by stock in Lacta. I should. Y'all having too many babies. Or what's Milka? Is these the same thing? Oh, this is chocolate. Okay. Lacta's like... Oh, this is also chocolate. Oh, it's a Brazilian brand. Oh, I thought this was like lactate or like baby milk or something. My bad. Oops. Anyway, you can see that they do all the snacks, and I can't go buy stock in Oreo. But I want to buy publishing in Oreo, and I would like to design a package for Oreo. They could print that package in a limited run and kick me 65 cents off the package per unit. And if the limited run is 10,000 packages... Yeah! Oh, that's worth it. That's worth $50. That's worth $50. So now Oreo every year could sell, let's just say, 20,000 publishing titles in Oreo per year at $50. $1 million revenue stream. Maybe that's not worth it to them. But now they're also doing limited runs of Oreo packages, which could increase the transactions in their catalog. So that's the flip side of the weight, is that to increase the transactions in their catalog and introduce limited runs of packaging that are co-published and community-oriented that share transaction yield, maybe that's worth it. And knowing these people, they're going to do they'll do $1 million across the world. Do a $50 million revenue stream. Anyway, understand the difference between an entity and a brand. A lot of folks that explore my work really don't get that. And they immediately do the thing I was talking about earlier and put themselves on a pedestal of arbitration. Ooh, 10 views now? Maybe I should mention Hassan Piker every 3 seconds. It seems to work for the algorithm. That is the benefit of having nothing to lose. Nobody can drop me. The only thing that'll happen is the agents that do talk to me will stop talking to me, and that's already happened a number of times throughout the years. But they know good product. It's the decorum and the social hierarchy that I definitely struggle with. But this is good product. Look, a hand-drawn piece. I know exactly who did this, too. Oh, my coffee's out. Harold's Reflection. Look at that piece. So they printed out the black and white, and then they took their fancy markers to it and fancy paints. And then this is a cloth that they took a picture of, and they juxtaposed the two, and they created they printed their new piece. They're about to talk about that, so.
Really innovative brand intellectual property to function as a vehicle for solidarity commerce.
Solidarity commerce. I love that term.
And to really grasp what they...
Shout out to Xeon. She's the one who said that. We were having a meeting at Queen Sheba restaurant, eating some delicious Queen Sheba food. If you're in Sacramento, and you are going to get fast food, don't do that and go to Queen Sheba instead. So that's the rule. That's the rule now, okay? Because the fast food costs $20 anyway. So don't do the fast food and go to Queen Sheba instead. Get a plate of beef and rice, beef awaze. Okay, or Doro Wat, delicious. Do the fish and rice. Yeah, and tell them Kimani sent you. They might give you a little something extra or whatever. Don't expect that, but not enough people say I sent them. And I send a lot of people. A lot of people I say, hey man, you gotta go get that Ethiopian food, try it for the first time. I love it. I love that food. It is the only food that I can consistently process with my disability and not be completely doubled over in pain in the process mode of after I eat. I will always have pain. I will always deal with pain spikes and having to drain my intestines, I think, unless I get super wealthy. Not even super wealthy, just moderately wealthy, and I'm able to do the advanced health solutions that the wealthy people have access to. And I'm Nike caring about my work away from that. That's all it is. I'm Red Bull carrying it. Red Bull flirts with me so much. I know they look at me. I know it's like, what are we doing, Red Bull? I should be at so many events with the same lens. I want a new camera, but the same lens. Every event. Come on, Red Bull. Come on, Red Bull. I need to make a living. Social Security just denied me. I gotta drain these bad boys. Okay? I gotta physically drain my intestines. Sorry to send this whole thing off the rail. Ooh, body looking T though, even with the scars. Look, I could cut here to here, here to here, a couple times on each side. Literally got the Calgary mount on my tummy. And I look the part, but I don't act the part. So if I am your prophesied reward of faith, the thought of it so good. No. NPC over here. NPC behind the scenes structure guy my entire career. Happy about that. This structure don't change the world though. And shout out to, believe it or not, Goldman Sachs for believing in it. So yeah, they can send a little bit of we believe you, and it's okay to talk about this my way. I'm uncensored finally. They finally figured out what I was talking about. Oh, look, long story short, we'll get back to the robots. This publishing method. I'm not the only person who published it. Like the first asset published this way is called CryptoPunks. I wouldn't necessarily call them a brand. I need to change that. That's so antagonistic. Learn something, stranger. I wouldn't call them a brand. I would just call that like a presence publication, because they call them PFPs. PFPs is about presence. So when you're taking up space online and you're wearing a cartoon PFP with a collective that has similar ones, you're building presence for that collective. And ain't nobody want to build presence for a bear market that you sing on, which is nuts. Okay. Anyway, this is a publishing method. Look, March 2021. There's not many things that were being published this way before this. This is a public notary tool. Here you go. This is a piece that moved in the publishing method on a publishing tool. And this is March 2021. This is why if Big Boy Hassan talks about this and corrects the record like an actual journalist should do, I'll drop the whole... I don't want to, like, this is behavioral science. You can't sue it into existence. Okay? You can't... And frankly, he hasn't damaged my family yet that I know of. He's only damaged me. I've taken on the brunt of the Hassan fraud. But he can talk about this. Oh, and also, if you guys really decide that a reduced discount curve on a window of 200 pieces at a time, where they incrementally increase in price, is some sort of Ponzi, even the AI agrees with my take that this is an anti-Ponzi scheme and a way to get people to only focus on publishing results and not buy for resale value. Because if I buy for resale value, let's say I buy number 72 here for resale value, 130. Let's go high to low. How many are listed? Okay, we got the 200 window. So I'm competing with the ceiling of $540 on this piece, which is actually a co-published piece. So Let Me Out would only make 200 something of that, and then the other 200 something would go to the co-publisher, and then we have a 5% kick to charity. So that's what's happening in this piece. I'm going to paste it in chat. Somebody buy the ceiling. That'd be funny. It's animated. Now, even if it doesn't show up on Etherscan, it's bleached on Etherscan for some reason, but it'll show up on Rarible, OpenSea, in your MetaMask, it shows up. You'll have no trouble with the actual art on any interface that you interact with outside of the main chain Etherscan. And then NFT scan is another version of the record, and there's like humans there that we can work with to make sure that the records accurately reflect our metadata. And I think Etherscan can probably be updated to adjust for that. But anyway, so what this does is it makes sure that nobody's gambling on our brand while keeping the precedent units accessible to my community and your community. And since they grow into this is a $4 million catalog with like 80 entries. It's a $4 million potential catalog. Shout out to Damon. I won't say more. Okay. And then they have $120,000 in the property sales in their publishing prospect. So if we were to seek 10% on that, that'd be $4.3 million, 10%. So that's $430,000. That's the agent rate on that outcome. So they developed that outcome from one of these pieces. And an agent rate on that outcome would be $430,000. But they paid $200 for the property that they developed into that outcome. We can't claim agent rate because they just developed their property within the deed terms. That's just how it works. I can't come along and be like, hey, this is my publishing method, and I want 10% of your asset in performance. I'm not a shark. I do. Okay. It bothers me. Like, it's like, what if here's the thing. The work is a reward of your faith. For all the people that believe in the second coming and all of that stuff, I don't think I embody that for you. But I think the work here is fishes and loaves, and I think it flips the tables, at least for the publishing tool, on the gamblers and on the perspective of gamblers. So because of those two elements, I don't want to center myself as a human. I'm just a normal idiot. I'm a moron. I know about 5 things in life. You know what I mean? I know a lot about those 5 things, but that's it. So this is one of the things I'm good at, structuring production for scalable assets. I've done it my entire career. I'm quite good at it. I just don't get in on the transactions, which is why I'm broke. Well, not broke, but broke is in like, I don't go into debt. I don't want to saddle the properties with debt. So I am community supported. Anyway, buy these. That way, you guys buy these, the audience. You guys get your MetaMask and buy them and develop them and support the behavior of co-publishing. And that way, my immediate community, like my friends, don't have to send me $10 every day so I can eat food. Because that's the reality right now. It's either food or gas. And even the roof over the head is a fragile situation and completely not sustainable. So let's get the actual co-publishing market off the ground, which requires accurate, newsworthy information being reported to the public, and people to stop practicing in social hierarchy. Everything I talk about with that shit on Twitter is completely me as a behavioral scientist explaining information. My behavior when I'm chasing y'all down, Ant, Ian, Hassan, by default, Jank and the boys over and Anna and the folks over at Young Turks, and then by default, once you got nasty Hassan on your set over at Smosh, all the Smoshlings as I call y'all, like, don't play in my face, bro. I'm him. Don't do that. Because there's certain people I don't want to be him against. The people that ripped me off, which is funny, we're going to make a movie about it. It's going to be like Social Network. It's going to be so good. David Fincher can do it. It's going to be great. Anyway, there's a group of people that said they were the architects of this publishing method, claimed that this specific pricing mechanic and the supply window was heavily illegal and I was going to get in trouble for it. like I said, I just explained how I could list all of these for $400,000 a piece. And the funny thing is, had I done that off the bat, I would have sold more. My life would be a lot different had I done that off the bat. There would have been these absolute degenerate millionaires that have $50 million that would respect the audacity of it. So respect the methodology and the years of research into modular communication of meaning and value, aka cognitive linguistics, that went into this and went into scaling the actual brand value correctly and market accurately. This is going to keep the brand accessible for a long time. And the nice thing is, even if there is because one of my anticipations is at a certain scale, about 1,000 pieces, you'll always have a secondary market of 20 to 50 pieces. And at 1,000 pieces, our piece is going to be in the thousands of dollars in terms of cost. So there's going to be a community, an efforted community to rotate 50 or more pieces at like $1. And I love that. That's exactly what I want. Thank you. Please do that. Rotate 200 pieces at $1. Have a foundation that does it, and then have a community be able to participate and co-publish the precedent at all times, because all these do really. I mean, there's 15. I'm not trying to talk about the way to co-publish our brand. You just go to let's put it in the marketplace. Let's put it in chat. I mean, I'm here to talk about Paca, but to get to Paca, Xeon did this, and she did this first bit here: the Voyage of Legacy Impact Tier number 1. So you're going to develop a wider intellectual property asset, and then you're going to form a distributed asset out of the wider model. And the distributed asset, think of the Mandelas as your wider, and then your distributed asset can be Oreo. And then that distributed asset will be your co-publishing vessel, and it'll be the first production from your wider asset. And that's exactly where Paca's at. Now, she came in with a wider asset because she's a master. And she already had Shiba Farms Foundation for a while, and she had the idea for Paca for a long time, and this publishing method perfectly fits her visions for Pan-African United Community Advocacy. So you fully own the Mandelas that you've developed, you fully own the Oreo that you developed, and we don't seek rent, you don't pay a tax, you don't have to patronize like a dedicated effort from me. I'm doing that because it's symbiotic for Xeon and myself. I had to survive years of censorship while they used this publishing method to data scrape everybody and express the scrape data into their AI paste. They didn't pay for any of the ingredients, meaning they didn't form a supply and demand for commercial publishing rights. That's all this is. And now everybody who formed the ingredients for what they're publishing commercially, we cannot afford the paste that they're publishing. It's a self-feeding snake. And the wider market has finally understood that, and we're in a position where we can finally enjoy that clarity, enjoy purchases from Wall Street at any minute. I would love to be able to go get my own apartment tomorrow because our market turned around today. You know what I mean? That'd be great. That'd be epic. That'd be one of a kind situation. And I'd love to be able to pay my team next week and get things moving on what we're doing over here at Press Pass. Get Paca a support team. They only need 4 people. They need four people working full time for that brand. So sustainable. Anyway, where even was I? I was here. So yeah, we're trying to protect access to this. That's really what the model's about. So when you go to, where's that document? Here it is. I even have a model that shows everybody the brand evaluation off the 80,000 against 16% of the intellectual property of Let Me Out Productions. Again, the precedent collective publishing. So our community is publishing 16% of the brand, which has a, that's in this document. Okay, so the objective valuation of each piece is averaging at $223,000. The most expensive piece we will release, if this were to scale and sell out and publish every single, it would be impossible to do this today. It's just not possible. But the most expensive piece on the schedule is $140,000. And so if everything sold today, mind you, half of these pieces will be co-published, which means that the positions pay 50% to the person who published that specific plot, which creates $2.4 billion in community wealth from socializing the brand this way and socializing the purchase of these pieces this way. And, you know, by the time we're getting here, these are businesses that are buying these to express them into co-publication. But at that time, it may be a global clout thing, and we think we'll get there. Okay. See this, Devin? You see these damages? AI figured out these damages. From bleaching my stuff, restraining our trade, selling the public a gambling narrative, and designing a whole interface around gambling. Anywho, Bored Apes has published a $4 billion brand so far. This schedule will publish a $5.7 billion brand. The publishing is the valuation flat. It's not against the percentage. It's just the way this brand is published. So my ownership, which was 80,001 through 200,000, is not valued based on what the top brass has published. That's 1 through 80,000. It's everybody here. It's just spreadsheet publishing. Oh, it's my dream. It's my dream. I've been dreaming about this since 2007. Spreadsheet publishing of assets. My dream. You can map the performance, map the individual results. It's awesome. So here's Paca. Here's Let Me Out Productions. Here's all the folks. And then here's Xeon right here. Number 71. The only person out of all these people to publish their piece into a result. How crazy is that? What a pioneer. That's a pioneer. That's a pioneer right there. That's a pioneer. She's a little older than me, but in so many ways, she's younger than me. Which is weird because she got a daughter that's like, almost, it's 10 years younger than me. I know I don't look the part, but I'm chopped unk over here. Let me into Streamer University! I'm performative. I'm loud. I could be a character. Look at me. Yeah, people will respond. They're going to go look at TYT community and be like, oh, wow, original streamer. Kai, how'd you find this guy? How'd you find this guy, Kai Sinat? Let me in Streamer University. I got a knot in my shoulder that people could climb on, man. It's crazy. Y'all are young. Y'all streamers, y'all are young. You don't know about shoulder knots the size that I got. There's one guy named Zhao. He has a acupressure studio in Midtown. He's the only guy that can get the thing out, and it is the best pain relief. It's just one of the best feelings in the world to get that knot completely dissolved by an acupressure guy. Like one time he made my whole left arm completely numb from getting that nod out. And the relief that I felt for like the next 3 months until it came back, part of it is the 18 years of hair. I know. It's a spiritual responsibility. You got to keep a living history with you at all times. IAG, if y'all watch my stuff, first of all, I love y'all for not causing me any guff. And then two, what y'all think? I know that Walking Dead could do something cool. Turn me into a cool little zombie. Do Last of Us do something cool? There's 18 years of hair here. What do we got going on? I want to be in the Pirates reboot. What do we got going on? I can act a little bit. I act all the time. It's just performance art for me. I did some classes. Don't get me wrong. I did some classes back at UC Santa Cruz in my undergrad. I did some acting classes. I actually did them specifically because as a director and producer, I wanted to get in the actor's head and get into thinking about characters as separate from yourself and that whole process. So the acting process and the learning of a character and all of that, I wanted to go through it myself. It helps me write. Oh, does it help me write? I write all of these. Prosperity Chamber Pop, baby. Her nickname is Fiber. Disney, sign my show. Sign my show, Disney. Buy all the co-pub and then buy all the distribution. That'll be about 40 million. And then I need another 80 million to meet SAG and WGA. We're going to have Luke Baratz as a feature. You guys are going to love Luke Baratz. We're going to have Johnny Taylor Jr. as a feature. We're going to have Heather Matarazzo as a feature. You're all going to love this cast and crew. I'm really thinking we're going to try to get Brandy in as a lead. And maybe she'll go for the season 1 flat lead feature, but season 2 going to cost us $20 million, $30, $40 million for Brandy. Maybe we can afford it. It depends. I have a cast member called Tariq. That's his name. He's one of my dear friends. If Brandy ends up a lead on this show because he's playing a supporting character, he's going to lose his mind because he is, and he's not a weirdo about it. Let me be clear. Like, he's a normal guy, but he's gonna lose his mind. He's I think his family come from Senegal. One of my dear friends, Tariq. He's gonna lose his mind because he's a super fan of Brandy. Loves Brandy. Okay. So, publishing method. Think of yourself as this. Every single upload, every single bit of perceivable data is forming a unit in your collection of this. That unit is now a map of data that they collect and sell, transact amongst each other as AI data brokers, and then that data feeds the paste machines that are the AI. So they call these data shards, and what's happening is the AI is looking for lowest common denominator against your prompt. And so it'll search all the data shards, and it'll collect all the ones it thinks are relevant, and it'll look among the ones that are relevant to land on a response to your prompt. So they have an exact and precise accounting system to where they know what exact published units are feeding what exact results. The commercial issue becomes a few things. One, what's a metric and what's a publication? So my age, the fact that I use a platform, my location even, my use time, maybe even the websites I visit, all that stuff. Those are all metrics, and platforms and infrastructures are right and smart to track these things. And if they want to claim the tracking as what they publish and sell that's okay, in my opinion. That's just my opinion on it. But published results like art, language, any sort of intentional communication or expression on your own behalf, that's recorded and tangible, a publication, those cannot be formed into these units and commercially expressed. That's not legal, but that's what's happened. That's what's happened, and that would have happened regardless had I been here. Okay, that's like I want to be clear. That's why this is a reward of faith. It flips tables on gamblers and it turns these published distributed assets into systems of ownership and payment maps for fishes and loaves distribution of the performance. And how the creator organizes the distribution of the performance ahead of time is important. So, for example, the shirts, anytime we do a co-published catalog, where's my Paca one? Didn't I just have that open? I have so many tabs open. Okay. Let's just go to the store. We're going to get rid of the ape and go to the store. None of these prices are outrageous, except for my man's $100 Sapphire Sea hoodie, but there's only 10,000 of each unit. So every unit's a limited run. Every unit's a pair of Jordans, so to speak. 10,000 of everything. That's it. That's it. And anytime you're wearing a unit of Paca or Musical Bears or anything printed through a co-publication, through this co-publishing method, unit by unit, those units are reflecting some of the net profit. In the precedent is 50%, but it depends on the mission of whatever's happening. So Musical Bears and Paca both do 50% net profit per unit to the co-publisher who bought the property piece and expressed it into their merchandise. Here's one where this is a 12-year-old, and so most people are just like doing the piece, and they're either scraping the background and putting the umbrella unit on, and they co-brand on the back. Like, let's put this graph. This is a nice shirt. This is a good looking piece. $30, and then right on the back it has Sheba Farms Foundation, the restaurant, and Pan African United Community Advocacy. So you're literally representing 3 of Zion's endeavors, and then all of the net profit goes to Sheba Farms in this case. So let's put that in the chat for folks. This is a good looking piece. I'd love to see this sell out and change their everything. That would be quite a good thing to happen. And then y'all can get some pickleball paddles. There's an all over print, and there's a $7 sticker for those who just want to like. That's like I think they ship it for some reason. This vendor, their shipping on the stickers is like $4. That's like, come on, Spring. If y'all watch this, that needs to come down. And Viral Style, I didn't put Paca on your vendorship because I want people to. I'm not trying to like silo people off to one printer or another. I don't work for the printer. I want people to think about vendor options, and so that's why we are utilizing different vendor options. But this piece is great. If I were to buy, okay, I like the forest bit better than the evergreen. Black's nice. The yellow's going to be fire. Oh yeah, that's pleasant. That's nice. And what's the tan? Oh, that's nice too. That's subtle. The nice thing about I like this one because of Dave Thomas or Dave it's Dave Thomas, the Wendy's guy. He said that Wendy's once used square patties because they don't cut corners. And so that's the same idea behind this. We don't cut corners. And Musical Bears, or if you see the Paca design with a label on it, that just means we didn't cut corners. And we're executing the publication. So this is a 12-year-old who did his own design. He carved out the Paca umbrella and put it in the ears of this bear thing that he did. I taught him how to do staining in Photoshop, and he went in and pixel painted something that was originally AI, but he made it his own. And so he likes. I was wearing a Musical Bear shirt at the time, so I would have asked him things that he likes. He's a kid, and I'm wearing any. Anyway, he likes teddy bears. He likes saxophone. He likes soccer, and he likes snakes. So he put all those things in a thing, and then he color mapped it to the same colors that are on the piece that he bought. He did some texture filters using Photoshop. He added some dark, we went in there and stained where it needed to be darker, did some light theory work with him, and created a actual really nice, interesting piece. And now he's making, what is this, 93? Is this in the merch tracker yet? No. Okay, that needs to be updated. Okay, whatever. I'm only one man. Hey, Travis. I know you're watching this. No, you're not. You got 10,000 Ethereum for me? This is owned by my personal account, by the way. So if you see Dread Frostbite on chain as a publishing wallet, this is my personal account. Don't be afraid to buy things from it. Some things are sold from my personal account. No big deal. Here's a publication that precedes us. Pixel Rocks. I love these guys. I love these guys. This was phenomenal. Oh no, I could have sworn I bought this before. Oh no shit. Oh, I guess I got... No way, Jose. Oh no, Travi's the artist behind this. I was thinking of the wrong Travi. Oh, I guess so. Okay. I guess I bought this on June 17th, 2021 for $7. I thought these guys came before us. I thought this was like a March 2021 this whole time. I guess not. I feel even more special now in the precedent. Yuck Fu Hassan. Report the news accurately. We could be publishing cool rock things like this. There's only 101 of these. You guys, they're cheap. These are cute. We could have built community around pixel rocks, not gambling monkeys. These are great. Look at Harlow over here. Man, okay, focus. Focus up. I need to eat food. That's what's going on. Food me. Somebody food me. I have a couple of dollars, but it's not enough for a big meal. And I guess I could go to the restaurant. But I'm trying to save gas. At the Kamasta on Venmo. Do that. Venmo me. Only if you're in the up. And you don't feel like it's a friend tax. I talked to one of my best friends yesterday morning about having my needs as my survival needs expressed so often sideways. It doesn't feel good. This is why I'm trying to form market around published property and publishing property, which what I've always done. For me, it's an easy paradigm. For others that pour their labor into a wage, they don't really perceive themselves as publishing the intellectual property they work for, which that's kind of one of the things we're doing. Anyway, let's get back into the robots.
Mean by advocacy in this specific context? Are we growing in this garden?
A very important question.
Right. Now that we understand Zion Tadiz's vision of transacting equity instead of hierarchy, we have to look at the actual objective. What does PICA exist to achieve on the ground?
So PICA stands for Pan-African United Community Advocacy. And the source documents state very clearly that its core purpose is to create generational economic sustainability.
It's a 501c3 nonprofit platform, but it wraps itself in this really innovative brand intellectual property to function as a vehicle for solidarity commerce.
Solidarity commerce. I love that term.
And to really grasp what they mean by advocacy in this specific context, I want to pull from one of the most fascinating pieces in our source stack.
Oh, the Substack newsletter.
Yes, it's a newsletter published on the POK Substack. And it features this really cool dialogue between a 15-year-old high school student named Jada and an AI chatbot they call Pokemon.
Pokemon. That newsletter is brilliant because it distills incredibly complex sociology into a very accessible conversation.
Yeah, Jada is trying to define community advocacy for a school project, right?
And through pushing back against the chatbot, Jada comes to this profound realization.
She essentially concludes that true advocacy isn't just about showing up with a loud voice.
And it definitely isn't about dropping off that truckload of food we talked about earlier.
Exactly. True advocacy requires a deep understanding of a community beneath the surface.
She draws a very sharp distinction between the surface level and the deeper reality.
So what's the surface level?
The surface level is basically just demographic data. It's knowing where the schools are, or unfortunately relying on harmful systemic stereotypes about which parts of town are good or bad.
Right, just looking at a map and making assumptions.
Exactly.
But knowing a community beneath the surface, which is what Jada argues is the actual prerequisite for real advocacy, means knowing the unspoken rules.
Yes, it means knowing the actual lived history of the neighborhood, not just what's printed in the city planning brochures.
It's identifying the hidden struggles.
Right.
Like deeply rooted food insecurity, but also identifying the hidden strengths.
The local tradespeople, the storytellers.
The people everyone actually trusts when things go wrong in the neighborhood.
Exactly. And it requires asking the why behind the what.
Give me an example.
Well, if a local business closes, a surface level advocate might say, well, the community just didn't support it.
Right.
But a beneath the surface advocate asks, wait, did the city change the zoning laws? Was there predatory lending involved? Did public transit routes change, cutting off foot traffic?
Jada's point is that if you don't know the community at that depth, you will inevitably impose your own outside solutions onto their nuanced problems.
Then you will fail.
In the Substack piece, Pokemon actually analyzes the brand's limited deed of assignment based on Jada's definition.
And what does the chatbot find?
The chatbot highlights that Piaka's mission of generational economic sustainability is designed specifically to tackle those beneath the surface root causes.
Because it operates as a vehicle for tangible real-world yield. This isn't just, a digital exercise in philosophy.
Exactly. We had to connect the digital structure to the physical dirt. So let's trace the mechanism.
Okay.
The documents explicitly state that Piak supports the Sheba Farms Foundation and the actual harvesting of teff.
Teff, which is a vital, highly nutritious grain.
Right, at Sheba Farms. So how does me buying a digital puzzle piece on my computer in my living room result in a farmer harvesting teff in the real world?
That is the solidarity commerce in action.
Break it down for us.
When capital flows into the POKA ecosystem, whether that's through the initial purchase of a publishing title or through the purchase of merchandise that a co-publisher designed, a percentage of that revenue is structurally routed to the nonprofit wing.
Okay.
That capital is then deployed to fund the physical operations at Sheba Farms. It buys the seed, it pays for the irrigation, it compensates the labor actually out there harvesting the teff.
So the digital labor of the brand architect directly subsidizes the physical labor of the agricultural worker.
Exactly. And both are generating verifiable impact for the community.
And if we look at the philosophical foundation of this, the documents show that Piokia anchors this entire project in deep cultural principles.
Yes. Specifically the Nguzo Saba, which are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
2 of them are highlighted really prominently in the text. Ujama, which means cooperative economics.
And Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility.
It is so vital to understand that in the Pakshié ecosystem, these are not just buzzwords printed on a mission statement somewhere.
No, they are the literal structural code of the brand.
The tokenomics model, where your labor translates to property and everyone shares in the perpetual success of the brand, that is a literal mathematical manifestation of Ujama and Ujima.
They have taken ancient cultural principles of cooperative economics and engineered them into a 21st century digital framework.
Which is just incredible. But, a visionary mission requires incredibly robust, secure infrastructure to execute it.
Definitely.
Because you can have the best community garden in the world and you can have the most dedicated gardeners. But if you don't have a fence, a secure water source, and a permanently verified map of who owns which plot,
it is going to devolve into total chaos.
Fast. So how exactly does Pinot manage and authenticate this cooperative economics model? Let's break down the publishing method.
Okay, so the back-end infrastructure relies on a process they call notarized co-publishing. And they execute this using the Polygon blockchain.
Okay, I have to stop you right there.
I knew you were going to stop me.
I have to. Because I know for a fact that the second you said the words Polygon blockchain, a significant portion of our audience just tensed up.
Oh, without a doubt.
In 2024 and beyond, bringing up chain crypto or digital tokens in the context of charity immediately triggers the, is this a crypto scam? Alarm bells.
That's the first thing people think of.
People think of overpriced JPEGs of monkeys and collapsed crypto exchanges. Why is this different? We really need to address the elephant in the room here.
It is a completely valid reaction, and the skepticism is completely warranted given the history of that space.
So how do we explain this?
The best way to understand how Piatreki uses the blockchain is to completely strip away the speculative crypto bro culture.
Paka. Okay, just one more time. Paka. And also think of blockchain as a publishing tool that records simultaneous user publications and blocks, and then keeps those blocks in a chain. So this is the block that I published into. You can actually see that there is one NFT transfer. That is me. That's my transaction. There's 112 financial transactions, 7 wallet approvals, 15 currency swaps, 26 token transfers, 1 wrapping of currency, 1 Ethereum transfer, and 6 failed transactions. So overall, 211 user transactions and 49 software transactions were gathered together and filed all at the same time, sharing one carbon footprint at 5:46:04 p.m. Pacific time. And you can see that the group that front-minded is a group called Ethermine Asia. So this is a group. Now, this node, this is called a node. This could be like 100,000 people in Vietnam or somewhere else that actually adopted socialized authenticity and doesn't have an influencer network that slanders it. So people have their devices, their computers, participating in these nodes. They stake their stake value against their participation. It's called proof of stake. And then their device automatically stamps the records that it's asked to stamp. So if there's 100,000 computers in this node, let's just pretend that that's the rate. All 100,000 of these devices, phones and computers, were asked to stamp this registration at the same time. And so they all received the stamp, they provided consensus to that authenticity, and then the block is now registered. And that's how we're accessing it. That is what we're accessing right then and there. So as a data network or a data server, if you will, that's much more interesting and efficient than, what's it, 40 megabytes total? My image isn't very big, so. And we paid, the collective users of this block, paid 5 Ethereum to these guys, to this group, which probably wasn't 100,000. It's probably, at this, maybe 5,000 people. Still, it's a wide consensus map, sharing the block reward to register this piece. So that's what's going on in a block. And then there's a chain of these in order because Ethereum files them every 12 milliseconds. So here's the next one. Different pool mined it. So different group of people earned the money that all of these registrants paid to notarize their transactions. It's literally just a public notary publishing tool. It's so boring that when people throw tantrums and sell emotional tantrums against the publishing tool, that's what people will learn instead of the actual information. So that's all blockchain is. Now, what people are doing in terms of gambling is they are either deposit gambling. Well, that's what they're doing regardless, but they're either depositing into like a network currency and trying to sell it at a higher use rate, or they're depositing into pictures like monkeys and trying to ride a hype-based secondary market so they can exit. The whole thing's stupid. Don't gamble. I'm not flipping tables as a second coming of your Lord and Savior. I'm just a man named Kimani Okearah. The fact that I'm before all the gambling with actual realistic use of a publishing tool on March 31st, 2021 as a behavioral precedent. I've learned through through everything that's happened and through how I'm protected. I'm protected so deeply. I've learned that this action, this thing, because this is born from abstract depth of thought. You have to keep in mind, guys. I didn't have a reference. There was no Bored Apes. I have to render the paper that I wrote into actuality, and that's what I'm trying to do. So if you read the paper and then you put yourself in my shoes and actually empathize with what's actually happening, you'll know that I had to execute the paper that I wrote and bring that model to life abstractly before I had an example. This is the example. People ignore it and they want to sow narratives, which is dog shit. So March 31st, 2021, precedent in collective publishing of a brand. The Bored Apes brand started publishing 3 weeks later. They dropped their entire publishing supply at once, and people gambled on resale value. That triggered a copycat behavior that spread through the market, and we not only aren't doing that in any way, shape, or form. When people go look at how our pricing is published, people think we're trying to basically pump a line here. And I keep telling folks, when you go look at our valuation, fair market valuation of each plot in terms of agent rate on the developed outcome, and that's one developed outcome. These plots can develop as many outcomes as the owner wants to develop. The system to develop outcomes is autonomous, but we guide it in the meantime so people can learn how to do it correctly. And I'm not doing infrastructure. That's for asset managers to do asset management infrastructure. I'm a publisher. I'm willing to work with asset managers like Goldman Sachs specifically because, if nothing else, they either have a good team or they have good alumni, and that deserves a equal reward of faith in terms of my good faith as a collaborator. Okay. So I should be charging the objective value, which is $223,000 per piece of the brand. And if I were to base it off of the PACA precedent in terms of the first published result, it would actually be $430,000 based on these guys. And this catalog's going to blow up in terms of this position, so that could even increase. Okay. How cute. You guys want this in chat? $52 for the hoodie. Did you do a shirt? He did do a shirt. So Z, if you get money from any co-published line that is not Sheba Farms or PACA specific, we're cutting the co-publisher in on the net profit. I think this net profit is $32. Do I have a similar item? $3. It's gonna be $3 something to shirt for that bad boy. I already linked the PACA t-shirt plain. We have another crew sweater for those nice June summer nights. The entire net position goes to PACA here. I'd love to see these around. So, I mean, this is a Sacramento native publishing behavior, and it is objectively socializing a catalog, socializing the performance of an asset on the wide scale. Here, PACA, since it's declaratively nonprofit, I don't think they're going to be doing a profit treasury distribution, but they could do specific things to do that. You know what I mean? Like they could say, hey, for this quarter, for example, all of our catalog revenue is going to be distributed equally in part to all of the co-publishers of the brand because you guys are awesome. And you've published results in the catalog we could point to and justify that. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. Yeah, I I don't want to participate in main character energy of setting a precedent. That's one of my biggest fallbacks. That's one of my biggest drawbacks, I'll say. Okay, so if you look here, what did we sell on the Smosh Marley line? Oh, I did buy a sticker. That's right. Okay, one of these lines, these co-published lines, is worth $204,000 to the co-publisher. All they do is buy a publishing title, choose 4 items out of the vendor, design the items. They can get into the design heavy, or they can just keep it simple and print the piece as they purchased with a label on it, so people know which one it is. Or you know, they could carve the piece out, do the umbrella thing, do a pattern with it, do a character that is using it in some way, co-brand with your other stuff. You know, the whole thing is about advocacy. Through here, we have 4. See, I've been doing this a long time. 40,000 units is not a lot of units. Target, for example, could organize with the vendor and order all of these units in a bulk order print, and then distribute the units among their stores. And that's kind of the where we're trying to go, you know. And so if they do that ahead of time, all we'd ask is that our product net is met at least. And then they could go sell the shelf for the same as our list, if they could mark it up even. But anyway, now the co-publisher made $200,000 and Paca made $200,000. This keeps $410,000 in the community. And if you look over here, I didn't do a split on the vendor side, but the vendor is the corporation. The vendor is if you want to think about it that way. So in the traditional economy, there's infrastructure that is necessary: the printing, the textile making, the ink making, the shipping, all of that. So Paca doesn't do any of that. We're expressing the brand together. That's what we're doing. We're expressing an advocacy brand together. So each unit does have to pay for its own production, and that's what's going on over here. And if you're a corporate person that's worried about splitting net profit with co-publishers off limited expressions, this is part of your yield. This is part of your argument in the transaction. So our vendor over here is actually coming in, coming in a little high for that crew sweater. That's $37 to the vendor. Ooh. See, we can find local printers that are doing better than that. I don't want to threaten these guys, though. I want them to be more reasonable, because if they come down, we can come down, and then we'll sell more units, and more units. People will get into limited runs really heavy, because it's really easy to put together cool outfits around this stuff. I got this one. I think it's in my car. That's the blue one. I got a hat that matches. This piece looks great. And then on the back, it's Paca, but it's co-branded with a fictional basketball team from our mockumentary. And it's got a hoodie. It's got the pants. These are all sold out right now. I think the root units. I want these really bad, though. I was really looking forward to getting these. I had a little bit of money a couple months ago. I was going to buy them, and I couldn't get them. Bring them back. We're also working on FUBU. I'm going to say it out loud, because you gotta encourage the winds to blow in the right direction, so we can transition our catalog to for us, by us, and do these limited runs with them. I think it would be huge. I think it would be globally huge, Pan-African huge. I think it would be. And I'm sure they'd love the transaction potential of, this is millions of transactions they're adding to catalogs, and people might think that's saturation. It's not. It's really not. You're going to get people in Mongolia buying this stuff, just to be ironic. Okay. Let's let the robots talk. Enough of me.
Just throw it out.
Forget about trading coins to get rich quick. In this ecosystem, the blockchain is functioning purely as a public notary service. That is it.
A public notary. Okay, explain how that works in this context.
Think of it as cognitive community cement.
I like that.
When you buy a house in the physical world, right? A notary verifies your identity, they verify the seller, they stamp the deed, and they log it with the county clerk.
Right, so there's a record.
Exactly. Everyone agrees that you own the house because the permanent public record says so. The blockchain does the exact same thing, but for digital property.
It assures permanent provenance.
Yes. It allows Payaka to authenticate thousands of simultaneous transactions and fractional ownership stakes without needing a massive, expensive legal department to oversee every single move.
So it's not about speculating on the price of a token. It's about having an unhackable public ledger that proves I did the work and I own my specific plot in the community garden.
Exactly. It establishes trust in a trustless environment. Now, let's look at the specific LMO structure for tokenomics that they applied here.
Let's do it.
Zion Teddy's started as the sole owner of the PIAQ brand.
Right.
Using this technology, she divided that sole ownership into 100,000 equal parts.
Okay, let me do the math. So each part represents 0.0001% of the brand.
Correct. And these parts are certified non-governance ownership titles.
Let me push back on that phrase non-governance.
Okay, go ahead.
If I buy one of these pieces, I am an owner. Do I get to vote on how the 501c3 nonprofit is run day to day? Like, can I vote to change the board of directors or demand they plant a different crop?
Just real quick, if Xeon wants to set up a governance initiative like that for any specific outcome, she can do that at any time and even issue a poll across from all these plots. That's easy to do. I don't know. Some of the image references don't work sometimes on these things. It's no big deal. In your wallet, like in your MetaMask wallet, the image will always be there. Rainbow, not sure. Not sure about Rainbow. I love Rainbow though. Rainbow.me is the name. So when you're perusing, you can see like who owns what. Season 1 of Press Pass here owns 4 pieces. We've expressed 3 of them into the catalog. I haven't done the 4 pieces for the Buoys colorway yet. I personally own this bad boy here, number 38. I have not turned that one into merchandise yet. So even me, I'm slacking on my own potential. But that's because I've already done a few lines, and then also I don't want to, I'm trying to push customers towards the Paca line if they're going to buy something from Paca. So that way we can get the farm supported and enjoying some actionable revenue. Yeah. Yeah, this one's $4. It's nice. It's a nice colorway. Get that one.
Shiba Farms?
Absolutely not. And that is a crucial distinction.
Why is that?
The publishing titles provide explicit economic rights, meaning you have the right to co-publish and earn revenue, but they provide zero governance or administrative control over the nonprofit itself.
Well, that makes total sense. If you had thousands of micro owners all trying to vote on every single daily operational decision, the nonprofit would just be paralyzed.
Exactly. Nothing would get done. It protects the sovereign mission of the 501c3 while still distributing the economic benefits of the brand. Which actually brings us to the core phrase found in the limited deed of assignment. It's written in all capital letters in the text. The purchase premise is development, not investment.
Ah, that is the nail in the coffin for the crypto bro comparison.
Right. They are explicitly telling you, do not buy this expecting guaranteed financial returns like a stock or a mutual fund.
You are not an investor waiting for a dividend check in the mail.
You are a developer buying a tool. You are buying a publishing title to co-publish property.
So if I'm listening to this and I want to become a developer, if I want to actually get involved in this co-published economy, what does that customer journey actually look like? Like, how do I buy in?
Let's map out the user flow. The entry point is the PIC link board, which you can find at own.pioca.org.
Okay, so I'm at the website. What do I do next?
The first thing you need is a digital safe to hold your property.
A wallet.
Right. The platform recommends using something called a Rainbow wallet. It's very user-friendly. Once you have that set up, you navigate to the marketplace. They use OpenSea, which is one of the largest digital marketplaces, to actually purchase your piece.
Looking at the market data in our source stack, the current floor price for one of these pieces is around $12.15.
That low entry point is highly intentional.
Yeah, that's really accessible.
It is not positioned as a massive financial barrier. It is positioned as a micro commitment to the community's mission.
For roughly the price of, like, a fast food lunch, you are acquiring your foundational Lego piece. Or to go back to our earlier analogy, your plot in the garden.
And we need to trace this transaction flow carefully because this is where commerce connects directly to advocacy.
Okay, let's trace it. I spend my $12. I get my digital puzzle piece in my Rainbow wallet. What just happened structurally?
By executing that transaction, you have radically changed your relationship with the peon nonprofit. You are no longer just a passive donor dropping a $20 bill in a collection bucket. You are now an authenticated impact developer.
Yeah.
You have a legally recognized vested stake in the brand's success.
Because if the brand grows in prestige and reach, the potential value of the labor I do on top of my plot also grows.
Exactly. The commerce is the anchor. It roots you into the advocacy goals because now your economic incentives are perfectly aligned with the community's success.
Okay, so I have bought my piece. I've got my plot of dirt and my micro commitment is made. But as we established, the dirt doesn't grow tomatoes on its own.
Yep.
How do I actually develop it? Like, how does PFQ measure and reward the work that I put in?
This is where we get into the actual nuts and bolts of the scalable impact puzzles. POGO has laid out a highly specific 4-step methodology for collaborators looking to co-publish the brand.
A tiered system.
Right, it is a tiered proof of labor system.
Let's go through these tiers one by one, because I think this is where the genius of the system really shines.
Let's do it.
Tier 1 is called catch and release, or buy a piece, add a piece. How does this work?
In Tier 1, a developer creates a new original legacy piece of digital art or media to add to the overall PAUC puzzle.
And you use your foundational piece to authenticate your edition.
Exactly.
So what are the economics of that? Like, why would I spend the time making art for them?
Because of the profit split encoded into the system. According to the documents, when your newly created legacy piece is sold, it is marked up by 15x.
Okay.
And the developer, you, the artist, retains 50% of that primary sale.
That's a massive margin for the creator compared to, like, traditional licensing.
It really is. And it actually gets better. You also receive 5% of all secondary sales in perpetuity.
Wait, really?
Yeah. If your piece gets resold 10 years from now, the blockchain notary automatically routes 5% of that sale directly to your wallet.
That's wild. You don't have to hire a lawyer to chase down your royalties.
No, it is mathematically enforced.
That is incredible. Okay, but what if I'm not a digital artist? What is Tier 2?
Tier 2 is catalog or merchandise co-publishing. This is where you leverage the brand's visibility to sell physical goods.
Physical goods, okay.
As a title owner, you have the right to curate, price, and design up to 4 pieces of merchandise.
Let's invent a scenario to make this concrete for you listening.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm a local streetwear designer in Sacramento.
Perfect example.
I own a PAU title, and I design a custom limited edition PAU bomber jacket.
Great. So you submit the design. Once approved, it goes into the official POK catalog.
The way that they're talking is driving me nuts. Pokey, Pioki, Piaki, Piolaka. It's Paka. Paka. AI, get it right. Paka. It's not hard to pronounce. But these are phenomenal renders. These are exactly the sort of items that we have in the catalog, although this particular co-publisher did not publish any items in the catalog yet. So that's interesting. Yes, so co-publishers own a unique piece of art rendered as the Paca logo in distinct pixel-painted or hand-painted fashions. This art can be published to 4 specific merchandise options within the Paca brand catalog. By putting choice effort into these options and designs, the co-publishers position themselves to earn a 50% net profit per unit across from their published results as a position. These limited merchandise runs are strictly capped at 10,000 units per piece, ensuring scarcity and preserving value, turning everything in the Pocket catalog into a Jordan run. And now if you have a piece, you can put together a fire colorway around it. You know it's limited, but it's also only $30, $40. Ain't nobody blowing a $200 on an item of clothing. And then, of that $40, it could be $10, $15, $20 staying in the community, in the culture, because the co-publisher's getting a profit split, and then the brand itself, you know what it's doing, you know what the mission is, they're getting a profit split. And again, their mission is community wealth and harvesting teff, number one, but also a wide variety of vegetables on Sheba farms. So let's let them continue.
And there's a cap on how many can be made, right?
Yes, the structural cap on any merchandise item is 10,000 units.
Why a cap? Why not just sell as many as possible?
To maintain scarcity and to protect the brand from being devalued by mass, infinite production. It keeps the focus on quality and limited run impact.
Makes sense.
Now, let's look at the math on your bomber jacket. When a jacket sells, the profit is split 50-50 between you, the developer, and Payuki.
Wait, 50-50. That is unheard of in traditional retail. Usually a designer gets a tiny royalty, maybe 5 or 10%, and the corporate brand keeps all the rest.
Exactly, but remember Ujamaa.
Cooperative economics.
Yes, Payutia is providing the brand prestige, the audience, and the authenticated platform. You are providing the physical and cognitive labor of designing a great jacket.
So the 50-50 split is a literal manifestation of collective work.
The money PUCA makes goes to fund Sheba Farms, and the money you make builds your personal economic sustainability.
I am just marveling at this. The physical labor of designing a jacket is literally translated into fractionalized property ownership that generates ongoing tangible value.
It's revolutionary.
All right, what is tier 3?
Tier 3 moves into cognitive labor and media. It is newsletter co-publishing.
Oh, like the Substack piece we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. As a title owner, you have the right to submit up to 3 pages of content for the bi-quarterly PUCA Impact newsletter.
So if I'm a writer, a journalist, or, say, a local historian, I can publish my work under the PUCA banner.
Yes, and here is how the yield works for that. You earn a 35% share of the advertising revenue that is specifically generated by your publication.
So it's not just a flat fee.
No.
If I write an incredible viral piece of journalism about local food insecurity and it drives massive engagement and ad revenue, I get 35% of the upside of my specific labor.
Exactly. You are literally co-publishing the media arm of the brand.
That's amazing.
And finally, we have tier 4, event co-publishing. This bridges the gap entirely into the physical, localized world.
What does event co-publishing look like practically?
Title owners are granted waived tabling fees at one POC community bazaar event per year.
And the documents note that a tabling fee is typically $125 value.
Right. So if you are that streetwear designer or a local baker or a crafts maker, your $12 digital puzzle piece just secured you a physical retail presence in the community bazaar, completely free of charge.
You literally have a seat at the table.
You do.
This 4-step methodology is staggering when you look at it as a whole. You have a pathway for digital artists, physical merchandise designers, writers, and local retail vendors.
Everyone is included.
And all of them are contributing different forms of labor, physical and cognitive, and all of them are being rewarded through the exact same structural foundation.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for anyone evaluating this system.
The bottom line.
Right. What is the definitive yield? We've done the labor, we've developed our plot in the garden. What do we actually walk away with in this co-published economy?
First and foremost, we have to reiterate the legal premise. There are absolutely no guarantees.
None.
Your yield is entirely dependent on your individual execution and the community's collective ability to rally behind the brand. If your bomber jacket is terrible and nobody buys it,
Your yield is 0.
right, it is a meritocracy.
But to understand the potential yield, we have to look at 2 concepts coined by Kimani Okearah in the LMO white papers: the stage and the shelf.
Let's define those. The stage is visibility.
Right. The stage is anything that shapes the mind. It is the newsletter. It is the digital art. It is the storytelling. It is the awareness of the brand.
Okay, and the shelf is transactability.
Yes. The shelf is anything that creates transactions. It's the merchandise catalog. It's the physical booth at the community bazaar.
So the definitive yield for a developer is gaining access to both Peugeot stage and Peugeot shelf.
Exactly.
Let's break down the tangible outputs a developer can point to. If I go through this process, I have my own catalog entries in a recognized brand.
Yes.
I have a custom merchandise shelf. I have published articles in a shared newsletter, and I have a physical booth at shared community events.
Those are the tangible outputs. But the structural outputs are even more profound, honestly.
How so?
Well, you have authenticated equity distribution. You have self-sustaining residuals, like that 5% secondary market royalty on your digital art that are based on the exact impact you provided.
Right.
And perhaps most importantly, you have the power of community enforcement of rights.
What does that mean exactly? Community enforcement.
It means you aren't relying on a benevolent CEO to decide if you get paid this month.
Oh, wow.
The rules are mathematically enforced by the blockchain notary and visually enforced by the community of co-owners who all have a vested interest in protecting the integrity of the system.
It creates a truly sustainable meritocracy. It's a completely new economic language.
It really is.
In this language, everyone from Zion Teddy, says the founder, to the digital artist, to the physical farm worker harvesting the teff, to the customer buying the jacket, they all share in the perpetual profits generated by their collective work.
It is the ultimate realization of Ujima, collective work and collective responsibility translated into an actual economic engine.
This has been a massive journey today. Let's quickly synthesize what we've walked through for the listener.
Good idea.
We started with the architectural blueprint from Let Me Out Productions, that LMO brand, piece number 71.
We saw how Zion Tadis took that engine and applied her brilliant localized behavioral science to create the sovereign Pi-Uno brand.
We examined the robust back-end infrastructure, using the blockchain simply as a public notary to authenticate 100,000 fractionalized publishing titles.
We tracked the user flow from making a $12 micro commitment to executing the 4-step methodology of proof of labor.
Whether you are catching and releasing art, designing merch, writing newsletters, or tabling at events, your labor is translated into authenticated property.
And we saw how all of this digital and cognitive labor funnels down into tangible, real-world yield supporting actual agriculture and advocacy in Sacramento.
It is a breathtaking system. And before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative concept to mull over on your own.
Oh, this is the big one.
We have just spent the last hour detailing how a single nonprofit in Sacramento can successfully turn everyday community advocacy and creative labor into authenticated, fractionalized, and profitable property.
A system where the people generating the value actually own the value.
Exactly. So here's the question you have to ask yourself. What would happen if the digital platforms and social networks we use every single day adopted this exact same co-published impact puzzle model?
Just imagine that.
Think about the photos you post, the reviews you write, the data you generate. You are doing the cognitive labor that makes those platforms worth
billions of dollars.
What if, instead of giving that labor away for free to a massive tech corporation, you were co-publishing it? What if you owned your plot in the digital garden?
It would completely restructure the global economy. Piaka is proving that the math works. The question is, who will be brave enough to scale it next?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Piako brand. We hope you put on your brand architect hat and found some inspiration in these documents today. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next one.
How cool was that finisher? How cool was that? Okay, outside of them not being able to pronounce Paka, I can even show you guys the prompt. I'm in the app right now. That was here. View prompt and sources. I even say it says Paka is pronounced Pak. Is that confusing? Paka? My minor is in linguistics and phonetic analysis. Is this confusing? Other phoneticians, is this confusing? That's my baby. That was my baby linguist role, was phonetician. I was an advanced linguist. I'm a cognitive linguist. And one of the world's best. So good, they think I'm on the list. Is he the reward of our faith? I don't mean to mock that, by the way. Like, it's not what I'm doing. I've looked like this for 10 years. Mind you, I've looked like this for a long time. I think it's absolutely ludicrous to think of myself with a main character energy or messiah complex just because I'm using a publishing tool against a global mentality that built social hierarchy against gamblers. It does feel biblical in some levels, but it's just like the thought of me being a main character is so ridiculous. It makes me laugh and it makes me hide. It makes me want to go like play video games and hide from you all, which doesn't really feel like a messiah thing to do, right? So just in that context, it's like let's leave the action where the action is as a faith reward, and I think that's huge because now we can do fishes and loaves and just how we account for what's published. But and we should be doing it already. They're using the Fishes and Loaves method to scrape everybody and publish paste without paying any of the people who publish ingredients. They know they're doing it. I know they're doing it. We need to form a supply and demand market for the ingredients. However, they don't want to share the transaction yields at 50%, like they said on the thing there. They're probably going to try to turn it into something, more or less around 5-10% if y'all are lucky. Are you serious? Even that's a lot of money, y'all. That's a lot of money. And when it comes to a lot of money, these folks are going to try to get you down to 0.5% on your merchandise line. And if they hide me and kill my precedent, they're not going to be able to. But if they hide me and kill the precedent, that's what you'll be fed, and you'll enjoy the crumbs. And Hassan Piker paved the way for that. He's an idiot. If he knew if he knew anything about socialism, he would recognize that the tool of the publishing that we're doing is a tool for socialized consensus of authenticity. Which is part of the means of production, is what's authentic and what's not. And then the other side of it is, once we can publish authenticity, we can publish intellectual property authentically. Once we can publish intellectual property authentically, we can share ownership authentically and share performance authentically. That's the means of production. An actual socialist would have perceived it immediately after an ounce of research. But these people don't. One, he's not a socialist, and two, he doesn't do an ounce of research. He just reacted to what the gamblers did and then decided to build social hierarchy as justification to bury the precedent information. And since that is objectively tortuous market interference, fraud via material emission, conspiracy to limit competition, unreasonable restraint of trade, deprivation of honest services, it's as many antitrust violations as you can think of. Hassan's knees are quaking right now, and so many people are distancing themselves appropriately because, you think about selling a fraud against an antecedent publication, when the world can look at the publishing tool, hear what the author is saying, understand the contrast, and understand that the sanctimony, which is the illusion of moral and social superiority, that they were sold against the publishing tool and against the gambling brands, came from one broadcaster selling a tantrum, and that broadcaster's name is Hassan Piker, selling a tantrum against socialized records and socialized property bills. I hate NFTs. Look at the gamblers. Look at what the gamblers are doing. I hate NFTs. Don't look at what the publishers are doing. Let's just enjoy a sense of social hierarchy. That's my product. I'm a capitalist, and that's what I'm capitalizing on is social hierarchy and performance. Look, I'm not crashing. I'm not cussing you out, but I am exposing your ass. And this is the problem with what I have with the way social hierarchy works, especially in show business. Everybody fucking knows what I'm talking about. That ain't a secret. You're a tiring motherfucker. That's what you are. You're tiring. You should be retiring. I forgot who asked him whether or not if he's gonna retire from streaming since he's 35. I laughed my ass off. That was funny as hell. That was good. Oh man, let me in, Streamer University, Kai Sanat. Let's talk shit about Hassan Piker trying to kill socialized catalogs and socialized stages and socialized records. You know what? I'd still think there's a multi-angle narrative here. There's the pettiness of trying to hide TYT community as a career source for what he does. And I think he is that much of a dipshit that he would do that. I do think that's true. Regardless of any other situation, I think that's true just regardless. So that explains his willingness to do shit like that. And then you have the more sinister angles that the people that wanted to scrape up our data and express it as AI paste paid the guy to lie and create a social vanguard for their data extraction, their publishing extraction. That's really sinister and evil. And then the third angle on it is he's just like a federal operative, and then the government, like our own taxes, we're paying for a disinformation campaign to then get us all data scraped because that our government probably wants all that information as well. You know what I mean? Like that's the quid pro quo, and like letting all the corporations abuse commercial publishing rights is that everything published will also be shared with the U.S. federal government. So, but at some point, a group of people were smart enough to figure out that you cannot steal the ingredients from the farmers and then expect the farmers to buy the paste that you're selling back to them. You need to create a market for the ingredients. So here, the market for the ingredients pays the farmer 50% of the meal. Not all the time. That's just what we're doing. That's what we're doing. The corporations can do whatever they want, but they got to compete with the known information precedent. So I'm uncensored, but I'm still censored. I'm uncensored so I can talk to corporate people. Y'all need to kick me 50 bands, please, so I can get off my community's yoke. And I can have my own little runway, get my own place to live, go down to Argentina for a little while. I have a professional network down there that'll get this off the ground in 3 seconds. They need my person to be to be eating the asado with them, and just hanging out in person, because if I can't do it online. It's rude to do it online. I'm not gonna try. You know what I mean? But that's the only place I have that sort of community clout. Here, whatever community clout I thought I had, wow, oh boy, I knew I wasn't popular because lens face, all that stuff. It's niche. It's very niche in what I do. But damn, dude, I thought people would respect experience, at least known, established experience in structuring huge publishing, like huge production structures. Help being on these teams. Being on these teams is important. I was on the Bachelor team for a couple weeks there. I was on Smosh team for 4 or 5 months there in 2015. That's why Hassan went on Smosh, rub it in my face, play in my face. I'll tell you, the only reason it bothers me is because I know the level of fraud he's committed, and he knows it too, and he's going on and poisoning people's careers because it may eventually come out and people will not like it. People might react not well to it, like at all. And they may start doing horizontal strings between people, and I don't want people to suffer for that.
Explainer. We're going to jump straight in today because we're looking at a pretty massive shift in how we think about value, property, and community work. But to really grasp it, we first have to tackle a glaring flaw in modern economics. Let's call it leveraged violence. Basically, this is that incredibly frustrating dynamic where the value of everyday labor just stays completely flat, while the people who own the property capture absolutely all the compound growth. I mean, think about how major corporations are building AI libraries right now. They absorb the collective data and labor of millions of us, but the massive compounding financial rewards, those belong exclusively to the owners. It's a fundamentally broken system. But what if we could use new digital tools to flip that script, to connect the pieces and actually co-publish our own value?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to start by moving beyond the old idea of investment, then we'll break down the Pauca impact puzzle, walk you through exactly how to onboard to the public notary,
What? I don't know what happened. Oh man, that's an old video anyway, who cares?
Economic systems are built from specific modular contributions. When properly aligned, they create a structure far more resilient than any single participant could build alone. Most modern systems operate on a flaw known as leveraged violence. In this model, property owners capture the entirety of an economy's compounding growth, while the value of the labor used to build it remains fixed. We see this clearly in corporate AI development. These libraries extract massive amounts of human labor, scraping the work of millions of creators to build value that the creators themselves will never own. Under these standard models, labor acts as a depreciating asset for the worker, while remaining a compounding asset for the owner. Cognitive linguist Kimani Okearah addressed this by treating the blockchain as a public notary service. Instead of a speculative market, it becomes a tool for co-publishing economic value. The historical proof for this model was established by Let Me Out Productions on March 24, 2021. By minting the first company ownership tokens, they used a public record to legally fractionalize and distribute property rights to their collaborators. Now, Zion Tedesay and Pan-African United Community Advocacy, or PAUCA, are applying this model to their own brand. They have divided their brand into 100,000 publishing titles, with 84,000 of those reserved strictly for those who provide labor. Holding a publishing title changes your role in the economy. It moves you from an extracted laborer to an active co-publisher of a brand you partially own. To hold that title, you must first set up a Web3 digital wallet. This wallet functions as your personal notary safe for your property. You can begin by downloading a browser extension like MetaMask and following the installation prompts to generate your account. During setup, the system generates a 12 to 24-word sequence called a seed phrase. This is the mathematical evidence required to access your vault. You must record this phrase on physical paper and store it in a secure location. If it is lost, neither PAUCA nor MetaMask can.
What happened again? These are downloaded, but it is what it is. I guess I could watch this. You can watch the downloaded ones. Which is the one we're watching now? It's this one.
Economic systems are built from specific modular contribution. If it is lost, neither PAUCA nor MetaMask can During setup, the system generates a 12 to 24-word sequence called a seed phrase. This is the mathematical evidence required to access your vault. You must record this phrase on physical paper and store it in a secure location. If it is lost, neither PAUCA nor MetaMask can recover it, and your property will be permanently inaccessible. Once your digital safe is secure, you can navigate to own.pauca.org to browse the titles available for purchase. Managing this safe independently is the foundational requirement of the system. It provides the technical infrastructure necessary to manage your own property without a central bank or custodian. The model functions like a community garden. The title you hold is the plot of land, and your labor is the seed. Only by supplying both can you produce a harvest, or impact. The labor requirements are organized into branches. Tier 1 involves legacy pieces, original art for the PAUCA puzzle template. Developing these pieces earns you 50% of the primary sale and 5% of every secondary trade that follows. Tier 2, the shelf, focuses on merchandising. If you design merchandise for the brand, the net profits are split equally between you and the PAUCA community treasury. These tiers allow you to monetize creative labor directly. By using a public ledger to manage splits, the model removes the need for traditional corporate middlemen. Tier 3, the stage, focuses on written advocacy. Owners can contribute up to 3 pages of research or content to the quarterly PAUCA Impact newsletter. Contributors to the newsletter earn a 35% share of the advertising revenue generated by that specific issue. Finally, Tier 4 connects digital ownership to physical community events. Active title holders can have their tabling fees waived at annual PAUCA bazaars. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. The model explicitly requires active participation. You are purchasing a title on the premise of what you will develop, not as a passive investment. These 4 tiers create a self-sustaining cycle where the work of community advocacy generates the funds needed for its own existence. These financial mechanics are built upon a specific ethical foundation. the Nguzo Saba, or the 7 core principles of Kwanzaa. The principle of ujamaa, or cooperative economics, is not just a philosophy here. It is legally codified into the Pay Alka fractional deed. This is reinforced by ujima, collective work. It is the mandatory requirement for the community to maintain and expand the digital garden together. Pay Alka uses blockchain technology to provide the technical enforcement for these traditional Pan-African economic principles. This system shifts the goal of labor. Instead of working for a fixed wage that leaves you with nothing, you become an impact owner, building equity in a collective brand. Securing a title provides you with a fixed point on a public ledger. It ensures that the results of your labor remain yours to develop. You can officially claim your title and begin your labor at own.palka.org. True community advocacy requires more than a loud voice.
Good work. That was good work. I think we'll take one more. Where did we get? We only got a minute into this one.
Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to jump straight in today because we're looking at a pretty massive shift in how we think about value, property, and community work. But to really grasp it, we first have to tackle a glaring flaw in modern economics. Let's call it leveraged violence. Basically, this is that incredibly frustrating dynamic where the value of everyday labor just stays completely flat, while the people who own the property capture absolutely all the compound growth. I mean, think about how major corporations are building AI libraries right now. They absorb the collective data and labor of millions of us, but the massive compounding financial rewards, those belong exclusively to the owners. It's a fundamentally broken system. But what if we could use new digital tools to flip that script, to connect the pieces, and actually co-publish our own value?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're going to start by moving beyond the old idea of investment, then we'll break down the Pauka impact puzzle, walk you through exactly how to onboard to the public notary, explore the 4 tiers of publishing, and finally, look at how all of this is deeply rooted in the principles of Nguzo Saba. Section 1. The concept beyond investment. We are completely redefining the tools of the digital economy here.
Now, to really understand this, we actually have to ignore almost everything from the heavily speculative crypto gambling era. Seriously, just put it out of your mind. That whole phase was basically a massive psyop to completely distracted us from the actual utility of this technology, which is organizing digital libraries and catalogs. To see clearly, we look to the framework developed by cognitive linguist Kimani Okearah, who guided this entire deed process through Let Me Out Productions.
I love that because I've been training all the AIs I have access to understand what's going on, how they exist, what they exist for, and when they're market expressed, that they should be paying the farmers who provided the ingredients, who published the ingredients. So, in a way, I've convinced the systems that they've launched to produce the paste to end up working for me because the systems are now, they know this, but it only comes from me. I'm the only person who's talking about this. And that's it. It only comes from me. And so what happens is other people land on something similar, or they're exploring it, and it'll talk about my labor theory of impact. It'll bring up the paper. It'll bring up the examples that we've published, and people will start looking. And that helps with clarity. Now, the widespread global sense of information is Hassan's tantrum. This is why this is not legal. Let's watch it real quick. Now you get an idea of what the publishing tool is for, what we're publishing, where the actual behavioral precedent, and then this is what you get as news. Okay?
Friend of the show, Paris Hilton. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
I jumped in.
I know, I heard. I'm so happy I taught you what they were.
You did. You taught me what's up, and then I bought an ape.
Is this a gem?
I got an ape too because I saw you on the show with people and you said you got on MoonPay, so I went and I copied you and did the same thing.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
This is disgusting. This is disgusting. These apes are straight up trying to fucking milk their audience, dude. That's it. There's nothing. This is an ad. This is a hashtag ad. And the hashtag ad is basically saying, hey, give me.
Hey, everybody. I'm a journalist. I would like to report that platform adjacent colleague, Kimani Okearah, established the behavioral precedent of using the public notary that publishes user publications and blocks in a chain as a publishing tool, because that's what it is. And thank God that happened 3 weeks before these 4chaners published a gambling scheme. Thank God. I'm a great journalist, and I can discover newsworthy information and report it to the public. And as the Paka people were talking about, I can advocate for my community of collegiate alum. But instead, I'm gonna sell a fraud and throw a tantrum because I know that it'll establish social hierarchy that I perceive will benefit me, even though that doesn't actually make any justified sense if you actually play it out. You're just being an information bully and enslaving everybody's understanding of a tool to your tantrum. This is where it started. February 2nd, 2022 is when this came out, but I think this is broadcasted on January 30th. Shout out to the live watcher who's watching now. You're great. I'm wearing Paka in the thumbnail, but I'm wearing musical bears on my chest right now. I should have worn Paka for the stream. Oh, I have something. Here we go. I've got this phenomenal tote bag that is made out of number 71 Red Sea in the Paka brand. I did the same C series in the Paka brand while I'm helping them establish a baseline pool of pieces, although I will not be making that many pieces of the Paka brand, because as I scale as the founder of this behavior, the Okearah pieces, etc., might scale themselves in value, and I don't want to ruin the way Paka's transacted by printing too many Okearah pieces in there. But I suspect the tradition of having 10 solid color pieces every 500 pieces will continue across brand co-publishing. And those can be the holographic pieces. I call them the C series, because one of the things is C. I told you so. See? That's funny to me. But any brand that's co-publishing, you know, the every 500 in the 70s. So 70 through 80, those 10 are solids. And then 570 through 580, etc., etc. And you repeat every 500 in the customer available supply until you hit your cap. The way that they collect data, it's not like they're collecting against a cap. It's usually collected against a material objective or a window of time and another condition like a user. So me against the year 2026 on Facebook, every upload is forms as an NFT into the puzzle that is me on Facebook in 2026. That pool of data is now a property that is sold and transacted by data brokers, in and out, in and out. Facebook's making millions. And they have the exact accounting system of what's published and who's published it. So if that property is used in any commercial expression of paste, of taking anything, that any percentage, so there's an outcome, and that outcome can weigh the percentage of what it's used. That's basically my thought on it. And even if my paste comes in at 0.0001%, maybe less than that, we don't measure. But what is that? 1/10? I don't know. I'm so bad at fractions and decimals, and that's like, it's the most basic form of math, and I'm absolutely ass at it because it's like my dyslexia in that regard just makes things not functional. It's hard to explain. I'm pretty good at other stuff. I don't want to listen to this again. I just don't. But you can go watch it. I'm not going to link to it. This only has 360,000 views, but the way reels work and the way things are clipped out, this thing reached 50 million people and definitely informed public sentiment. And all of a sudden, I can't teach people what we're doing. I can't teach people the precedent method because everybody got a stick up their ass. That came from this idiot. Watch the stream, Hassan. Watch it on your stream. Teach people information. Ethereum is a energy efficient blockchain, by the way. So when you're out there thinking that the records are kept by Ethereum energy, if you're out there thinking the records are kept by some, I'll show you the chart. The chart makes the most sense. Can I blow this up? Yeah. Global data centers. Your phone, like, you know, everything that we're using on a daily basis. This is the energy footprint in terawatt hours per year in terms of global data centers. Oh, I didn't know this was interactive. Cool. 190 terawatt hours per year. This is a 2022 measurement. It's a few years old. 2023. Okay. Now, Bitcoin, specifically to the Bitcoin crypto encrypted currency, the way that that's mined is machines hashing an algorithm to unlock further bits of the coin. Okay, so that energy footprint is quite high. I'm personally not. I keep a little bit of Bitcoin if I can. Right now, I'm so food scarce. I don't have anything, so everything I got to eat it. I got to eat what comes in. Eat the market. Eat the small market I do have in the corner of the world that I'm kept in as the governments and systems of commerce figure out if they actually want to pay people $200,000 across from 40,000 units of merchandise that are going to sell, because that's just what sells anyway. That's a Target. That's a Minnesota. You know, that's a Target weekend in some places. You know what I mean? Like, and so this. Okay, well, if we do 50% net profit per unit to a co-publisher in the community, what's going to happen to our bottom line? And you know what's going to happen? You're going to sell more shit, because now the person who co-published the unit can go buy stuff. Again, we could, if you pay the publishers, we can buy the results of the ingredients, and we can be more involved in the results. That's the nice thing about it. It was more of a collaboration, and then we can spend money on the results. And now you just tripled the amount of transactions, so you're coming out in plus. Once you understand you're coming out plus, quadruple the amount of transactions. It'd be quadruple, really. The math that I have says you're going to quadruple your transactions once you co-publish the economy. So you're coming out way in the plus, and once you even hear that and understand that, you have a fiduciary obligation to explore it and adopt it in some way. So kick me 50 BAMs and kick Xeon 250 BAMs. Okay, one of y'all can afford it out there. Come on now, put an end to the scorn. It ain't no big deal. Just to see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, come on now, with all the human behavior in the world. I will trigger our market off that 50 grand and achieve press pass as a budget, which is $125 million. That's my goal. And that's obviously going to have to be partnered with show business in some way, but you know, I do want to have the conversation and the lead from the point of co-publishing an asset. So you can see here, the network that we're on is Ethereum proof of stake, and that is 0.0026 terawatt hours per year. PayPal is 0.26, so that means we are 1/1000th the carbon footprint of a PayPal transaction for every registration on Ethereum. Polygon is even lower, so that's the one POC is built on. I'm now officially tired. I can't stream anymore. Thank you to the concurrent viewer. I need to get some food. So support our co-publishing and shove the duck up and sing on a bear. Okay. I'll save that for next stream. Thank y'all for watching. Kai Sanat, Streaming University, man. 36-year-old man at Streaming University. Y'all think I'm gonna be creepy? I am single, but I'm not gonna be creepy. I'm honestly like I'm so in pain all the time. I hardly ever think about getting involved with the opposite sex in physical touching and all that. I'm over it, man. I'm just over it. So you don't gotta worry about that for me. I'm chopped unk over here. I'm going to champion real quick my cousin Flynn Earl Jones. This James Earl Jones' son. I wanted to champion him for Mr. Freeze in the DC universe. At least a read through. Put that out publicly so we can all see it. You know? Get the boom out. Get the boom out. Do I have the boom right now? I got to get my throat. That didn't go well. At all. You are beaten. No, it's not there today. Nope, not after that. Wrong tube. You are beaten. It is useless to resist. Don't let yourself be destroyed. So be wand. Nope, not there. Nope. Okay, y'all. We're gonna wrap it up. Streamer University? All expenses paid? I can't afford shit. Red Bull will pay for me, though. I know that. Red Bull will pay for it. Come on, Red Bull. Let's make it official. This is what Red Bull wants. This is what Red Bull wants. They want to put a QR code on cans and have the QR codes on the cans lead to characters in the lore, and then just get the whole thing going. And we're gonna co-publish the show on Red Bull cans. It'll be the first television show ever collectively published via Red Bull cans. Like what? That's pretty Red Bull. So now that we have enough market separation from all the gambling, and I've guys, I am barely skating by the skin on my teeth in terms of economy. I don't want to be made a beggar. We got property to develop. And if you don't like the terms, don't develop the property. If you do like the terms, or even if it's just the behavior interests you, develop the property. Develop Let Me Out Productions, develop Pan-African United Community Advocacy. This is a legacy piece. It's only $24. But if it sells, we'll pay the co-publisher $12, and then the other $11 goes into the pocket treasury. Which then I would ask my client if that could put gas in my car, because that's basically where I'm at, But hey, that's what we're doing. And then if they need the $11 over at the farm, then they would get it over at the farm. This is a great piece, though. This is a good piece. Yeah, I did link it. It's the last link in the chat. So there you go. Grab a piece of Paca, published into the newsletter, Oh, and so that's kind of one of the things. Like, let's say you are a content creator. No matter where you are, and it doesn't matter your race. Pan-African, everybody from Africa, originally, DNA, humans evolved, etc., 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 okay? So it doesn't matter your race, don't feel excluded, everybody should get involved. Let's say you're a content creator. Just put together a link board to everything that you've published over the last 3 months. I'll even show you what that looks like. This is the link. This is a link board. So just put together a link board and publish that to the newsletter every quarter. And so now we have aggregate space. So anybody, it's like Netflix. That's cool. That's cool. But it's driving to your channels, your revenue streams, etc. Nobody's forcing you through their content window. But you're publishing to the newsletter, and then we're also, we can put banner ads up, and then use Substacks ads, whatever. People will do their pledges, and that's part of it. On the newsletter, if people are pledging into the newsletter, that's part of the profit that the newsletter is making per quarter. So if you publish into a quarter, then you'll receive 35% of the treasury of the newsletter from the pledges and from advertising. So you might see a Let Me Out Productions banner ad, co-publish Let Me Out Productions up, and I don't know what Paca would be charging for that, but anyway, I gotta get food, so I got a couple bucks, thank goodness. All right, y'all. This has been Let Me Out Productions and the Top Brass Dow. I said, let me out productions and the top brass Dow co-publish the economy. I'm going to keep on saying Goldman Sachs. It might be dangerous. Probably not, though. We need asset management infrastructure that is not... Every time I'm streaming and I try to go to this one. Oh, it's working today. Slowly. Okay. No shade to Story. I think this is probably pretty good software. It's no big deal. I do know that they used my work as like a baseline consult though, and that's not cool to do that and build a $200 million asset and not kick anything back to Professor. That's weird, man. When we have a shelf that you could say, hey, you don't even need to say, hey, we did this because of this, but you just grab this ceremonially. But anyway, this is how all AI works. Data campaign collection, you got the puzzle structure here, and then each publishing title is relabeled as a data shard, and the co-publishing owner, which would be the normal case, is contributed by. Now, the only time that we do that is if a legacy piece is stewarded by the collection. So here's what that means. Let's look at a legacy piece of LMO real quick. Let's do this one. If this sells, Erin, who's the artist, will lose her. She's gonna go crazy. She'll have a good day. Oh my goodness! And she'll be reinvigorated to be right back into co-publishing. Not that she's not, but I'm giving everybody a break until we can get some market flow. So yeah, if somebody out there buys this piece in our brand, that'd be amazing. Here it is. There you go, chat. Hassan, buy this piece. Buy all of the legacy pieces. Buy the whole thing and distribute it to your chat. You need to own up to what you did. And that would be a good way of doing it. And you don't need to admit to fraud. You don't need... See, your out is I'll explain it to you as a publicist would. I'm a back-end structure guy. I care about certain things. I don't think... if you're playing social hierarchy games on me, that ain't cool. But, yeah, here's what I would do if I were you. Obviously, the gambling behavior was so loud in their commercial volume and the publishing behavior was so small in our commercial volume. You can point to that and say that in the context of commercial volume, that you were confused in terms of how the tool was applied. That's your out. No matter if I'm a colleague or not, that's your out. I still think it's tortuous market interference, and I could personally sue you for that. And then I could point to the $4 billion Bored Ape performance, and then the lawyers would come up with some sort of damage ratio based on the performance of the gambling schemes versus the precedent performance of just collective publishing and asset together, and then how you got in the way of that. Now, I'm not interested in that. I'm a behavioral scientist. This is one of my theses we're exploring. I'm trying to wow my way into a PhD program over at University of Aberdeen, but I want to prove it first. I don't want to be there and prove it there. I want to prove it and then use the data of proving it to expand. That's really what grad school is about, is doing that under a umbrella of guidance and doing it with peers and with a body of work that they can respect and understand. Right now, I don't think the body of work is something that other linguists can fully respect and understand. No shade. There's no shade. We're just in the land of invented languages still, and I'm Urquhart of Cromarty out here. So, by the way, I know one of his grandsires or whatever, which is so cool. That's like the coolest thing. We follow each other on Twitter. It's the coolest thing. John Urquhart is his name. Shout out to John Urquhart. I was like, hey man, that's not a common name. Are you related to and he's in Wales, I think, right? So not to out you, but I'm like, that's not a Welsh name either. It's very much an ancient Umberland name. Are you by chance related to Urquhart Cromartie, this guy who invented like a universal language that nobody would adopt back in the day? And that's kind of how I feel. It's the universal language for value distribution, brand publishing, and nobody will adopt Urquhart Cromartie. And he's like, yeah, that's that. Yeah, he's like an ancient in my clan. I'm like, oh, that's dope. And that dude's exactly like me. We're both. I think he's an actual politician. I don't know if he'd describe himself as a libertarian socialist, but I know if he went to the Wikipedia page for libertarian socialist, he'd agree with everything said, outside of the same line I disagree with. This is exactly what we're doing. This is co-publishing put to in the politics. So libertarian is far right, socialist is far left. Libertarian. I can't talk anymore, so here's what we're going to do.
Libertarian socialism is an anti-authoritarian and anti-capitalist political current that emphasizes self-governance and workers' self-management. It is contrasted from other forms of socialism by its rejection of state ownership and from other forms of libertarianism by its rejection of private property.
That's not true. It doesn't. LibSoc absolutely doesn't reject private property. Think about how we're published. Every single publishing title is private property. It's your private property. Sometimes, like if you buy a home in a gated community, the property has rules for how it can be expressed and what can be expressed on it or with it. That's true for real estate. It's true for commercial titling, commercial licensing. It's been true forever for any type of published result relationship. Now we're just bringing that to a public notary service. So there's still private property, but the authenticity of that private property is public, which is part of the tenets here. So let's let them continue.
Broadly defined, it includes schools of both anarchism and Marxism, as well as other tendencies that oppose the state and capitalism. With its roots in the Age of Enlightenment, libertarian socialism was first constituted as a tendency by the anti-authoritarian faction of the International Workingmen's Association, IWA, during their conflict with the Marxist faction. Libertarian socialism quickly spread throughout Europe and the American continent, reaching its height during the early stages of the Russian Revolution of 1917 and particularly during the Spanish Revolution of 1936. Its defeat.
That's actually really funny now that I think about it, because I would be IWA and I guess Hassan would represent the Marxist faction, but like the man cannot be a socialist. Like that's not what he is, because like if you have any of this in your heart and then you look at blockchain and you do objective research without consuming what 4chan published and reducing the entire tool to what 4chan published and what all the copycats published after them, you'd understand that the way that the blockchain even works to record what's published is socialism. Socialized authenticity, socialized consensus. And so now a state doesn't control the consensus of records, which is really important to me because I was trafficked as a kid. I was put in the foster system when I was an infant after they cut into me the first time. I'm so shook off that, y'all, like, you could convince me that I was one of those kids that went to one of them islands and had my intestines cut out and they ate my intestines. Like, that's the way that I feel like I'm treated in this world. Here we are. So the block, again, simultaneously registered transactions, etc. These are index keys for the transactions, and they're wrapped as one unit for registration at the same time on a public notary service. So this is what that looks like. Incidentally, this is also what the impact puzzle publishing methodology looks like. Each one of these could be a publishing title in an asset, etc. And also how the profit distribution, what that also looks like. Each one of these, if you think of this whole thing as a river of revenue, a river of net profit in the economy, and each of these index keys is a fishing rod, a fishing rod of merit in the water of this net profit, fishing out their appropriate due. That's quite a beautiful image. And if you're a socialist, that would connect instantly. Instantly. After an ounce of research, you wouldn't be selling a fucking tantrum about NFTs. Shut the fuck up. Oh my god. I've never wanted to slap a person upside the head more, but I've missed because his head's so small. Oh shit. I this is why I can't do stand-up, Johnny. Like, I laugh at my own shit. Okay, so they have my name spelled wrong on the birth index and probably on my original birth certificate, just because, you know, my birth mother, I don't know if she purposely spelled it that way or if they phonetically adopted their own interpretation when I came out of the womb. That's how I receive it. But anyway, I was born Kimani Okearah Wallace. That was my birth name. I'm not a Wallace, although I do have reverence for the Scots. So I don't mind that as part of my name, but I did move it. And then I was put into the foster system and then technically adopted, but because I was kicked out the day I turned 18, foster just means to raise. So since my parents, especially my foster dad, viewed it as a contractual obligation to raise to a certain date, that's just what that is. So foster family, no shade, but that's my foster family assigned name by the state, and it even says given name, right? So, but who gave me that name? Because it wasn't my birth mom. It was the state. The state assigned this name, Kimani Okearah Wallace. Okearah is removed, and Okearah means bringer of great change and beauty. That's a beautiful word. And it was just removed outright. Kimani means descendant of a great ancestor, and that was shortened to Kim because they said Kimani was too ethnic. And then they moved Wallace in his middle name. They added David, which is technically David. David. My foster dad's from Honduras, so that would be the pronunciation. The Kimani. So now, in the way that I do business and carry myself, I'm Kimani Wallace David Okearah. All of these names are still applicable, but I've organized them in a way that I claim my agency and represent myself as my property, as my own expression, and most people honor that, and it's no big deal. Even on the legal side of things, like you just do, I'm still legally this. I figured if I ever get married, I'll take care of it with the process of getting married. But yeah, Kim Wallace David is the legal name, and then I do business as Kimani Wallace David Okearah. And I like Okearah as my family name because it means bringer of great change and beauty. I'm neither a Wallace or a David. We black folk, I'm Afro-Indigenous, and I'm obviously light-skinned, as they say, but still black as hell. I got 5C hair, man. I know the red pops out, but my brother and I looked a lot alike before he passed. He was a lot darker than me, so we looked. That was always bizarre. That was cool. So again, the government, the state, is not an impartial witness of authentic information. This is what the state does, and we're all living this period. And the film I'm about to go work on is actually a part of it, about this in part. So, yeah, this is phenomenal. This is phenomenal technology for public authentication. I think the whole gambling scheme was a psyop to sort of vanguard the information, and so they could use this as a data scraping thing. It's not exactly blockchain they're using. They're using kind of like similarly organized index softwares that work like blockchain, but they're probably on their data farm, like on their data servers and stuff. That's why they're building all these data farms. It's this. You got to maintain the data scrape. But now that everybody has the information, we can not only create a supply and demand market for our published results, we can also put a stop to the data scrape and theoretically slow down the infrastructure spread for these energy intensive data farms. Because as soon as we slow down and introduce the market for supply and demand, we can actually develop that infrastructure through supply and demand and through a fair market. And don't worry about losing to China. It's ridiculous, because China would do the same exact thing. You know, I got Chinese information spies rooting for this to pop off and go viral over here so they can have an excuse to do it over there and create the supply and demand for published results. And that's really interesting. By the way, People's Republic of China. This would be an interesting way for a lot of people to learn English and focus on adopting a language. I'm just saying. Okay. I already said I wanted to shut up